Okay. Ooh. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Crimson Skies, and welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I took, so what is it, 2:55? So I fell asleep at 11. So I took like a 4 hour nap. I feel awake. I needed that. 'Cause what did I do? Only like 30 minutes? Only 30 minutes when I got home from work, and then I was just like mentally gone. I literally couldn't stay awake, and I don't know, you know, um, but I'm awake. I'm awake now, so I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna do this video. I'm gonna open up Unreal Engine. We're gonna do the 4 hours. This is gonna be a long session. This is gonna be a long session. I think it's gonna be probably 6 hours long because I want to finish this video so I get this done. I want to get this done. My that's my goal today is to do this so that I understand, because what it seems like he's doing is effectively teaching us map making and how to like make a map. That's awesome. So when I finish this tutorial and I make his little castle map with the trees and stuff like that, um I'm going to make a map of my own that I'm going to use for my like big project game. And it's not going to be like the whole map or anything. I kind of want to do like a small-ish map. Maybe something where I can test out all of the systems that I have in my mind that I want to be in the game, kind of thing. I can kind of get things running. So it's gonna be kind of like a giant, almost I don't know. It might be a circular kind of ish map. It'll probably be like a couple of neighborhoods in like a city. We're gonna open the editor. I don't know what this editor is for. Okay. And he was talking about the master thing, right? Yeah, I even switched the name to master material graph. Okay. This for some reason isn't my material example map, so we'll just get that up. How did he mess with the sun again? What was that? I forgot. And it really sucks. Darn it. I actually genuinely forgot how he did the sun thing. And it was super cool too, and I think it's super helpful. I'm sure there's a file, maybe in tools. Select actor. Huh. Okay. Well, I guess it's not a big deal. I just thought it was super, super awesome. Okay. But we just named M master material because he was talking about making a master material which you can then use for those instance materials, which I'm assuming you could just do individually, but have it based off of the master material is what it sounds like, more or less. The concept sounds simple enough. History, Unreal Engine 5 beginner
Now it's
tutorial.
pure white. So let's go back. And I also want to expose the textures right here. So I want to be able to swap out each of these textures on the material instance. To do so, you can probably guess, of course, we're going to right click and go to convert to parameter. Call this one.
So he's okay. So he's switching these to parameters. So does that mean every single thing in all of the major things? I mean, in a master material are all just parameters that can be changed within each instance. Is that what it's basically telling me right now? Okay.
Want to color, right click right here,
To roughness,
roughness,
and then this is gonna
and
be
right
normal.
click, convert to parameter, normal.
Okay. Right click, convert to parameter, color, convert to parameter, roughness, convert, normal. Okay.
So let's press apply. And now we get access to all those textures right here. So if I just turn and activate all of these, I can switch out any of these textures for something else. For example, I can switch it out with grass. And now we have grass as our base color.
It doesn't look right like that. Let's go back here. Control space. We'll open up the instanced one. And we have global vector parameters. Oh, apply. Okay, control S. Okay, and then I come back here, control space. Look at you. I have global texture parameters. Oi! Okay. It's actually kind of crazy. I feel like he's teaching me an insane amount of stuff. Um,
But our roughness is still using the Spanish pavement and the normal map. So I'm going to press Control and Z to get rid of that. But you can imagine that if we did have a normal map for grass and a roughness for grass, that I could just swap it out really quickly. And instead of it being a Spanish pavement, it is now grass. But our master material isn't complete yet. It is missing one function, and that is allowing for metallic maps. Since our Spanish pavement right now isn't metallic, but what if we did have a metallic material and we want to use our master material? Unfortunately, there is no place that we can put a metallic map. So let's jump into m underscore master material and let's add that right here. So we're just going to duplicate the roughness map. So press Control C, Control V, because just like the roughness map, the metallic map is a mask that shows where in the texture the material should be metallic. And instead of calling it roughness, call this one metallic.
okay. We got ourselves a bit of a doozy here. You guys are all going to go down a little bit. Control D here. I'm assuming you guys control D here. And he said metallic, right? So let me rename metallic. Let me just take the guess here. I want to rename metal metallic. Let's go with that.
Drag it up right here. That's what I was using the same UVs. And simply plug this into metallic. Now we do have the issue, and that is now even a material like our Spanish pavement, which is a metallic, will have metallic values by default.
Which he's gonna have to add the other two pieces, right? Like all the others have. Um, or it could just be a basic multiply session, but the multiplier is gonna be needed. He's probably gonna need something with a basic default value. That's all kind of self-explanatory. So we'll just run you through A, this through B, into metallic, because that's how all the others work. And then if
default, which is something we don't want. So we want the ability to be able to turn on and off this metallic map right here. So let's jump into m underscore master material, and we could give ourselves a toggle for this with the static switch parameter
static switch.
and select it right there. So let's call this one is metallic. And then if it is, then we're going to use the metallic map.
Okay, so it's a true or false thing. Control, we want to get both, delete. Let me go back real quick and see what he. So it's bluish green. Mine's green. So we actually have to go back here for a second. So he looked for
Switch parameter.
static switch. Okay, I just got switch. Static switch.
And select it right there. So let's call this one is metallic. And then if it is, then we're going to.
That one has a true false. So we're gonna. Is this not the. I don't think it's the right one. Let's go back again.
So let's jump into static switch parameter and select
Static switch parameter. Static switch parameter. Static switch parameter. So we're gonna do is metallic. Okay, so it's the same color, which means I did get the wrong thing.
it right there. So let's call this one is metallic. And then if it is, then we're going to use the metallic map. But if it's not, we're going to use the default value of metallic, which is just 0. So hold down 1 and left click to bring in a
One left click for the numerical value. You go here. You go here. Metallic. Apply.
constant scalar value. And by default, it is 0. So plug it up like this. And now we have a nice switch where, let's say, for example, if we do have a metallic material, all we have to do in the material instance is check is metallic to true and drag.
Control save for a second. I want to save. I need to check if I did it. Is metallic. How fascinating. How fascinating.
Drag in that metallic map right here. But if I turn it off, then it gets rid of that metallic map. So let me go make some adjustments to our Spanish payment, bring down the size. Also,
Learning a lot. Yeah, it's actually really cool. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out. Look at what I made. I did it. So he just showed me. So basically, I set up a basic material, and then I made an instance material of that basic material, and then we just set it up so that it's I guess a master material, but as far as I can tell, anything can be a master material because that's like your base set, like your base rules for that material, and then you would just basically use it for multiple different types of like material instances for whatever you would need that material for. But that's cool. That's cool stuff. That's cool stuff. Look at all this mumbo jumbo. I can actually walk you through it. I know what each of these things are. um, yeah, no, it's crazy. Crazy. So this was to mess with the size of the patterns, and then it spreads off into color, its metallic setting, its roughness. I mean, I obviously labeled them, so. And then a normal pattern. Normal pattern is the weirdest thing, though, but um, I'm not going to dig too deep into it. But then color, in order to be able to change its color on the fly, we had to put it through some kind of, I mean, it's called a multiplier, but it's like a switch almost. Well, not a switch, but it's like I mean, because this is a switch. But basically, you put that item through, and then you put the kind of wanted color through, and then whatever that color is, it affects the item, and then it goes into base color. Metallic. Is it metallic? Is it not metallic? Goes through. That's what the parameter is. 0 is false. 1 is true. Roughness is like roughness of the material. Goes through here, and it's the same concept of how rough do you want it. I think it's between 0 and 1, and then you put in the roughness section. It's crazy. Normal is the weirdest thing because it's like adding fake height, making it more realistic, I guess, or creating kind of built-in shadows, and then this affects how much the normal is affected, and I just connected to that. It's very fascinating. But what's even more fascinating is some of these systems you almost don't need so much. So this right here, I feel, is remarkably unnecessary, but that's because he's working on an older version of Unreal. But they have, you see these built-in numbers? So you don't need to set up all of these for something like roughness, um, unless you're planning on making it a master material. Then I guess that would make sense. But it almost doesn't feel like you need all of these resources anymore to really mess with what you want from this. It's been so simplified, this almost doesn't seem necessary. It's actually kind of crazy. Almost doesn't seem necessary. But
So it's a little bit too reflective right now. So I'm going to increase the roughness strength just a little bit to
so
make
he's
it
playing
a
with
little
it.
bit less shiny. And
He's
now
just
we
playing
have
with
a
it.
pretty versatile master material that we can use for a whole range of different scenarios. And we're going to use this master material in the next chapter. Now that we can import textures and have a master material, let's go over how we can import 3D objects and bring them into Unreal Engine. And it's very important to know that in Unreal Engine, 3D objects are called static meshes. And static meshes, by itself, are just a collection of vertices and faces in space. If you want to change the way that object looks, then we need to add on a material, and generally, this material is comprised of multiple textures.
So we're actually. Oh my gosh, we're gonna start uh actually
So
putting
to
objects
break
in.
down how a 3D asset is constructed in Unreal Engine, first we have our static mesh, which is a plain 3D object. And then to change the way that static mesh looks, we need to add a material. And this material can be comprised of multiple textures. So to better get a sense of how 3D assets are made, let's create our own 3D asset in Unreal Engine.
Okay,
The
let's
3D
go.
object we're going to be importing into Unreal Engine right now is included within the beginner assets. So double click to open this up, and it's the woodcrate.fbx. So we're going to import this into Unreal Engine.
Okay.
If I
Is it
double
just
click on
drag
it
and
to
click or
see
drop?
what this 3D model is, we can see that it's just a very simple crate.
Can I do that? It's in the beginner assets. Oh hell no, I can't do that. I don't have what he has. Jesus. What did his open? What did he open his with? What did he open his with? I might need to get it. 3D library. Environment and lighting. What the fuck is this? I don't have that system.
So nothing too fancy, but it will get the point across on how we create 3D assets in Unreal Engine. So let's go into content drawer, and under my stuff, I'm going to save everything. Right click. Let's create a brand new folder. Call this one wooden crate.
Okay. Okay. So control space. We're gonna make a new folder. Wooden. I mean, he called it crate. I kind of just want to call it wooden box, but okay.
Let's double click to go inside of it. So wooden crate will have all our assets that combine to create the wooden crate asset. So first, let's import the 3D model. So hold
It's drag and
left mouse
drop, right?
button,
I just
drag
need to
it,
see.
and simply let go. Now we have a bunch of FBX import options. Generally, I keep it at default. If you do see something is different, click on reset to default to get those default values back. Now, generally, under materials, for create new materials, I do not create a material. Since
Okay.
we are not going to be starting from scratch, we're going to be using the master material on this. And for import textures, uncheck that to false, since we aren't going to be importing any textures, since I'd rather import those textures manually. And click on import.
Okay. Got it. So enter the thing. Open up that. So he just did the box first. So we're just gonna do the box. And then down here it was import textures. I don't want do not create material and then do not import the textures. That's all he did. Import. Done. Yeah, buddy. Okay.
So we might get this warning. That's fine. You can ignore that. And now if I double click on the wood crate, we can see that our wooden crate has been successfully imported into Unreal Engine 5. I can drag this out into my scene, scale it, rotate it, move it around.
He's fucking
Pretty
around
much
again.
it has all the same functionalities as any of the objects that Unreal Engine comes with. So that's how you import a 3D object. Let's go over how we can create a material for this 3D object. Now, luckily for us, we've already done most of the work, and that is our master material. So m_master material has everything that we need to create a material for this object, except the textures. So let's import the textures real quickly.
Okay.
Press Control and Space to bring up the content drawer. Select all of them with Shift and drag them into the content drawer.
Okay, so he's doing all of them. Got it. We're gonna close you. We're gonna close you. Control space. I'm on the current tab. Open up you, and it was bam. Oh shit, hold on. Drag and drop 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Control S. Okay. Space. Control S. Control S. Control S. Control S. Control S. Control S. I'm saving them. Looks like he just mass drops it.
So let's double check that all our maps are correct, starting with the base color, and sRGB is turned on, which is exactly what we want.
Base color sRGB turned on. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Good. Good, good. Good, good, good.
Would crate_metallic should have sRGB turned off since this is a mask. And this fancy texture right here we are going to ignore, but I will go over it in just a bit.
Okay.
And right there is wood crate_normal. Let's double click, make sure that it was imported as a normal map. sRGB is turned off, and compress.
Okay, so this one's important. Let me make sure this one is uh, so the normal texture. SRB should be off, and it should be seen as a normal map. Okay.
Compression settings is set to normal map, which is exactly what we want. And for roughness, of course, since this is a roughness mask, make sure sRGB is turned off.
That one had
So
it on. That one had it on. That one had it on his, so it should be on mine. Bam. Hey, I'm paying attention. Who's paying attention? I'm paying attention. Give me that A plus. Give me that A
Go
plus.
save everything and create a material instance of our master material. So let's right click, create material instance, and call this one mi underscore wooden crate.
Mi wooden crate. So we're gonna make another version. So control space. We're actually going to go back into my stuff. Master material. Create material instance. It's going to be mi for material instance underscore wooden crate. Oh, I misspelled wooden. Guys, you didn't see this. Wooden crate.
So drag this into our wooden crate folder and move here.
Okay, so I'm actually kind of keeping everything organized. Move here. So now this is all I have to see. That's cool. That's very nice.
So double click, and we have our material instance. So I'm going to apply this to our crate, and obviously it's using the wrong textures. So let's open up our material instance.
Well, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Let me. So now that he did it, I thought he was just fucking around, but then he kind of like suddenly got way ahead of me because he did it initially. That mad lad. Just be a big chunky boy. Be a big chunky boy. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, and then control space, drag, put this, you put it on that, bam, and we are now caught up to whatever the crap he was doing. That mad lad. And we're just gonna hit end to make it kind of like. So I kind of want to do this and see if I do it correct. Like go ahead of him.
For wooden crates, and activate color, normal, and roughness. So let's
Okay. I kind of want to go ahead of him and see if I do it correctly, because what he's going to do right now is he's going to effectively switch these over. So I'm actually going to jump the gun and see if I can get it correct. So this is the base color. This is the normal map. So we're going to do the wooden crate normal map. Normal. And then for the roughness, roughness. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I did it right. So all I did was switch those to what I believe to be the accurate things. I want to see if I did it right. It looks correct to me. Looks pretty darn good, man. Looks pretty darn good. But let's see what he does and just make.
drag those textures that we want, specifically color into base color.
It's drag and drop, dude. This is so easy.
Roughness into roughness.
I once again did it
normal
harder.
into normal. Our material is almost complete, but we are missing one last thing, And that is the metallic map to make our nails metallic. So to do so, this is why we added the is metallic switch right here. And now we get the metallic texture. Let's turn this on.
Oh, that that guy actually got me fucked up. Is metallic on. Now we got that. So he kind of has it pushed off to the side so that he can metallic. Metallic. That's cool. Look at that. They actually look like nails. That's crazy. That's so cool, man. That's so cool. That's some cool stuff. I wonder if he's gonna go through the process and then teaching us how to do this stuff too. But we did what he did.
Find where our metallic map is, and simply drag it onto texture and let go like that. And now our nails are metallic. We can see it successfully reflecting the sun.
Yes.
So that's pretty amazing how very quickly we were able to automate the process of creating a material by using our master material. So we could create a material without ever even touching the material graph by just creating an instance of that master material. And what's amazing is that we still have access to all the parameters right here. So I can change the normal flatness to -5 to increase the normals, or I can go into roughness strength and decrease the roughness value to make our box even shinier. I can even go into color tint and give it a slightly orangey reddish tint. Now, it is important that if you do drag a texture onto an object and the texture looks like this, so it looks completely out of sync, that's because the size value most likely is not 1. So come into size and make sure that it's set to 1 as its default value.
Size value has to be
so
1.
So now we have a nice box asset. I can hold on Alt, duplicate this, maybe scale it up, and even drag it from the content browser. But now we do have an issue, and that is when we drag a box from the content browser, it does not have the material we just created.
Right.
So to set our box's default material, we need to open up the asset static mesh editor. And within here, we see that we have a default material slot. Right now it's using the world grid material.
And we're going to replace it with that material instance.
Set this to mi_wooden like that.
That's awesome. Okay. Wooden crate. Open that up. Control space. Oh, hold on. Control space. Save. So now, control space. This. Oh, yeah, buddy. That's cool.
Let's press save. And now that material is applied to all our boxes, even when we drag out a brand new box. Before we move on to the next chapter, I think it's important to point out what this texture right here does. So I'm going to double click on it, and this texture does look a little bit weird, but essentially what it is that it combines several different masks into one texture using the RGB channels. And I know that might sound confusing, but essentially in computer graphics, color is made up of a red channel, a green channel, and a blue channel. Yes. So what developers realize is that they can take these individual channels and then hide masks inside of them. So for example, if we uncheck the blue channel and the green channel, we see that the red channel of this texture is our metallic mask. Uncheck red, check green, our green channel is roughness, uncheck green, and check blue. Our blue channel is ambient occlusion, although we won't use ambient occlusion. I included it within the texture to show that we can hide 3 different masks inside a single texture. And because even though this is a color texture, it's actually going to be used as masks, we want to uncheck sRGB right there. So the way we would use this in a
Okay, he's going to show me how to use it. Got it. Let me uncheck RGB in this. sRGB, my apologies. We're going to actually sit here and Control S and save. And then
Material is let's create a brand new material. Call this one mask example and double click to go inside of it.
okay, mask example. New material. Mask example. Let me make sure I spelled that correctly. For some reason I feel like, okay, mask example.
So if we were to create a material from this mask, I'm going to drag out our base color and our normal map because of course we still need them.
Base color, normal map, okay. So the base color and then the normal map. So it just handles the roughness, the metallic, base. I'll move you down here. Normal. Okay.
And instead of using our metallic or our roughness texture,
Right.
we
He's
combine
got that
those
mask.
into one individual texture right here. So we don't need those since they're combined into this one. And our red channel is metallic, so I'm going to
Oh, so he's using the RGB colors. He mentioned that. Okay.
grab from the R pin into metallic, and our green channel is roughness. Now roughness didn't have to
Red is metallic, green is roughness, blue is the ambient occlusion. Okay. Red is metallic. Green is roughness. And then if we wanted to do ambient occlusion, we could put ambient occlusion here. Let's see if he actually does it or not.
be the green channel. It could have been blue or red, just I decided to use the green channel. And if I press apply inside of our map, let's
Okay, hold up. He actually didn't. He didn't. Okay. So we're going to apply. Save. I just need to save.
apply the new material to this crate. And right now there is a slight difference between the two.
So the small one's going to have mask example. It should look exactly the same because it's just the same system. It's just one has multiple.
Since in the material instance I am using color tint. So reset that back to white, and jumping back here we can see that there's virtually no difference in between combining the textures or using the textures separately.
Yes.
So I included it within this course because it's pretty important to know why Unreal developers use this, since you will be seeing this a lot.
Okay.
Also, it's good to know exactly what these R, G, and B pins are used for. That is how you create Unreal assets. But you're probably wondering now, how do I move Unreal assets in between different Unreal projects? Because it would be a real shame if every time we create a new project, we have to remake all the assets. And we can move assets in between projects through an easy process called migration. So to migrate assets in between two Unreal projects, of course we need a new Unreal project. Included within the downloadable content, link in the description below, is a project that contains some assets I want to bring into our first project that we've been working on. So within the zip file, go into it, and it's specifically Intro Unreal Project. So just drag it onto our desktop to unzip it, and double click to go inside of the project folder. To open up an Unreal project, double click on the .u project. Now that I have the downloaded project open up, if I press Control and space, we can see.
Okay. Pause. So intro Unreal Engine 5, he went into intro Unreal Project and then intro Unreal Project. That's fine. 5.4 is perfect. That's the version I'm using. Oh, is it booting that whole thing? Hold on. Fuck. Guys, fuck. I fucked up. Fuck. I don't think my computer can handle this. Okay.
See all the content that's currently inside of it. Now, if your content folder is empty, then that means
Uh, for now, just dismiss it. Control space. We have maps, material, meshes, textures. Zaka. It must be him. Okay. Lighting examples.
you didn't unzip the project. So make sure you do unzip the project before opening it up. So I have a folder called lighting examples with some maps, materials, meshes, and textures. They're going to help us demonstrate Unreal's lighting capabilities. I don't want to bring all of these assets into our original project called First Project. So to do so, I'm going to dock them to the sides of my screen.
Oh, God, fuck, bro. I closed it. I closed it. Okay, we're gonna put you here. You over here. Unreal Engine. Damn it. I didn't think he kept it open. Oh. Okay. So we're gonna open my original project. And it looks like we're gonna be transferring the lighting examples to this project. Watch this be what destroys my computer. Oh no. It might take a minute actually, to be honest. I didn't anticipate this. I was hoping he'd keep it. For some reason, I think we still are in a relatively simple system and design. It's just that I am big dumb. My stuff, material example. Load the world in. Okay, we are in the world. I didn't drop all the same boxes he dropped. It seemed like he was just fucking around just to be like, hey, do 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 do. Okay, so so you guys can follow along. I'm gonna keep it on this just so we can all kind of watch the same thing together.
Let's go open up our content drawer. So what I'm going to do is copy our lighting examples folder, which is right here, and bring it into another project. To do so, we use a process called migration, and migration is really simple. Simply hover over the assets you want to bring into another Unreal project.
Okay, got it. So for you, we're gonna open, go to content. I have these, but that's because I fucked up. Okay. He is hovering over lighting examples from the looks of it. Yeah. And let's see.
Right click and select migrate. Now it's going to give us a list of all the assets that are going to be migrated, and this all looks correct. So I'm going to click on OK. And now it's asking for a location to migrate them to. We specifically want to migrate them into the content folder of the destination project. And you can find out where the content folder is by double clicking on the original project file. So right here is first project, which is where this project is stored. And if I go into its project file, we see that there's a content folder, and this is the location that I want to migrate.
Oh shit. Uh, um, guys, we have a problem. How do I, how do I, how do I file, uh, shit. Shit, I didn't do that part. I didn't do that part. How do, hmm, ooh, baby. Oh boy. Oh boy. Save current as. That doesn't help me either. Uh, how do I then? How? So let's see if I can find a roundabout way. So I see an import button. First project. I found a way to drag and drop that file here. I found what I needed. Now I just need to close you, but now I can't touch you. I can't close you because I got this file open. Dude, bro, fuck. Add on personal documents, Unreal projects. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna close for a second. We're gonna close it for a second. In the cloud. Add on personal. That's not it. What the fuck is personal vault? No. Documents? Unreal projects. First project. Okay, we did it. Holy cow, brother. Holy cow. They really be pushing. They really be pushing my buttons here. Pushing my buttons. I was freaking out. I didn't know how I was gonna be able to make that work. So I actually have to open it. Let's watch what he's doing. So I have the file open now.
Migrate all these assets to. So I could go through and manually navigate to this location, or I can copy its destination with Control C and Control V it right here. So now I have the content folder of our original project selected. I'm telling Unreal that I want to move the files from Intro Unreal project to first project. And click on select folder. So now we can see.
Okay. So now that we have that, right click, and it was migrate, right? Migrate. Okay. And then okay, so I found it. So I can uh so it's on desktop. Okay. Okay, we got it. Thank goodness. I got over that
The
hurdle.
content migration successful. And if I go into first project now, press Control and space, under content, we now have lighting examples.
Okay. So we're just gonna move this off to the side to see if he uses it still. If not, he's probably just gonna close it. Let me reopen this one. What's up, hun? Did you watch it while I slept? Did you watch it while I slept? Mm, no. No. No, no. No, no, no. No. Disappointed. Disappointed. Lighting examples. Okay, I got it. I did it. Holy shit, I did it. I migrated the resources.
which are all the same assets from our downloaded project. Now, an alternative, that's so we don't have to go and find where our project file is located in order to get the content folder's location. I could press Control and Space to go into the content drawer and right click on our content folder and go Show and Explore. This will automatically bring up the content folder from our project. Finally, let's talk about Unreal Engine 5's brand new lighting system called Lumen. And Lumen is revolutionary because it gives us real-time global illumination. And essentially, global illumination is just a very fancy term for light bounce. Because in real life, light doesn't just hit an object and stop. Instead, it hits an object, bounces off that object, and after each bounce, it illuminates the world. It also takes a little bit of that object's color and projects it onto the next object. For example, it might be a little bit hard to see because the video is being streamed, but here we have a red mouse, and light is hitting this mouse, taking a little bit of its color, and then projecting it onto any nearby objects. So if I move the mouse to the table, around the table, there's a little bit of a reddish tint that's coming from the bounce lighting. So global illumination is important because it's the secret to realistic rendering. But there's one large problem, and that is global illumination is very expensive to calculate. Real-time global illumination isn't possible without a super powerful GPU. And this is where Lumen comes in handy. Lumen is a brand new way to render global illumination at the fraction of a cost compared to traditional ways to get global illumination like hardware ray tracing. So to show Lumen in action, let's jump back into Unreal. And to do so, we need the content that we just migrated over. So if you haven't already, make sure you download the lighting examples, link in the description below, and migrate it into our project from the previous chapter. So to begin, let's go to Maps and Light Bounce. So as we can see, this.
Oh, okay. 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 So it looks like I don't actually need this anymore. So we're gonna close that one. Stick with this one. It looks like Maps. Light Bounce. Is my computer gonna explode from this? Huh. Okay.
Is an insanely simple room. All we have is 4 walls and 2 objects and a light source. I've also gone ahead and added in a post-process volume. Since by default Lumen is turned on, I want to turn off Lumen to demonstrate how we used to get global illumination back in the Unreal Engine 4 days. So as we can see, global illumination method is set to none. Now let's just pretend that we're in Unreal Engine 4 and I want some global illumination since obviously shadows are never this dark. Normally you would see some light bouncing around to illuminate the shadow areas right here. So the first thing I would do is number 1, make sure my light sources are set to static, not movable. And number 2, I need to build my level. And to build, you want to come up to the build tab all the way up here, select it, and within the drop down, simply select build all levels. Right now behind the scenes, Unreal is ray tracing our entire level and creating a light map. This light map contains all the lighting data, which it then overlays onto our world as a texture. Now we are done building our lighting. It should have been pretty quick because this is a very small level. And if we look at our level, we can see that we do have global illumination. Notice how this sphere is no longer pitch black in the shadow areas. There's now light filling up the shadows, making it look a lot more realistic than beforehand. We can even see that there's some red on the sphere that's bouncing from the red wall. Same thing over here. The entire room has a little bit of a greenish tint since this green wall is also bouncing light off. So this is how we used to get global illumination in Unreal Engine 4, and while this is great, there are some major issues. Mostly that our lighting and all our shadows are static. So if I select my sphere and move it around, we can see that the lighting breaks. Press Ctrl Z to undo that. Then even if I select my light source and move it around, the lighting also breaks. Notice how if I move my light away, we now have 2 shadows. So there's one shadow that's coming from the light source, and another shadow that's coming from our light map, which is no good. So I'm going to press Ctrl and Z to put our lighting back in the original spot, and this is where Lumen comes in really handy because it allows us to have dynamic global illumination. So I can move my light around and move my sphere with no issues whatsoever. But first, we have to get rid of our light map since we did bake our world. To do so, you need the World Settings tab. Now, by default, there is no World Settings tab. We can get that by coming up to Windows and selecting World Settings all the way down here. And now we have our World Settings. As you can guess, World Settings is simply the setting.
I see world settings.
Of our world. So this is where we would control our light baking. And we will go over light baking settings in just a bit, but for now I want to get rid of our light maps by selecting Force No Pre-Computed Lighting, which will tell Unreal that I don't want to use any light maps and I don't want to build.
What? He didn't seem to scroll that far down. Hold on. Light mass. Light mass. He said force no. Shit. He accesses these menus. So it isn't light mass. It's down here underneath advanced. Okay. So I accessed the wrong one. It's an advanced force no pre-computed lighting. Bam. Okay.
Build our lighting. And then after I set that to true, make sure you press build. Now that didn't build our lighting. Instead it went through and it got rid of all of our light map textures.
Okay. So let me build all levels. And what I guess it does is remove the light map textures that I maybe had, but I didn't actually follow along because he was obviously giving an example.
So let's come back to details. And now I'm going to set my light source to movable. So now that's
Light source. Light source to movable. Okay.
set to movable. We still aren't getting any global illumination.
That's crazy. Control Z.
Because if you remember in the post-process volume, I turned off Lumen. So let me zoom in a little bit so that we can see this better. Here is Unreal Engine 5 without Lumen, and here is Unreal Engine 5 with Lumen. So
whoa, dude. What is it, an exposure? Where did he click that? Global illumination. We're gonna do lumen. Holy shit, that's cool. How interesting.
So this is without, and this is with. And what's amazing is that I can move this light around, and there are no issues. I can even move this sphere and make it bigger, smaller, and Unreal is calculating all this global illumination at a very smooth frame rate, which is absolutely amazing. This was not possible in Unreal Engine 4. So if I grab this light, and even if I move it all the way over here, we can see that there's bounce lighting coming from the light hitting the wall, and then bouncing and hitting the sphere, giving our entire sphere a little bit of a reddish tint on the right side.
That's crazy.
Which is very realistic. We could even come into the point light settings and gives ourselves a softer shadow by increasing the source radius. So if I increase this, notice that the shadows get softer and softer. Global illumination used to be pretty expensive since you'd have to use hardware ray tracing, but now, thanks to Lumen, it's accessible to everyone, while running at a smooth frame rate depending on your computer. And something that was not possible in UE4, even with hardware ray tracing, is that if I come into lighting examples, materials, and use m_emissive material, our emissive materials give off light. So I'm able to light up a scene by just using our materials, which is really amazing. So I'm
That's
going to press
so
Control and Z to undo
cool.
those, since now it's time to go over all the different light sources that Unreal Engine has to offer. So to begin, let's talk about the point light. So I'm going to delete it, and to get a point light, you want to come up to the Add button, of course, and under Lights, drag in a point light. So the point light is the most basic of lights. It's just a point that emits light in all directions. So let's go over the most important settings in the details panel. And probably the most important one right now is intensity. So it's at 8 candelas. I can bring this down to 1, 2, or even something insanely large like 100 to
Oh,
change the
Jesus.
power of the light source. But for now, I'm going to leave this at 4. We also have the source radius, which I just went over.
Yeah.
But if we increase it and make sure that you do have game view turned off up here, you can see that there is and hopefully you can see this a little bit better with the red
Oh,
background.
okay.
We have the outline of a yellow sphere. And this sphere basically tells us the size of our light emission. And the larger our yellow sphere is, then the more soft our shadows will be. And as I decrease this all the way back down to its default of 0, we get some really harsh shadows. So if we want to soften that up, bring up the source radius. Now right below that, we have temperature. So temperature allows us to change how warm or cold our light source is. If I bring this down, our light source gets warmer and warmer. And if I bring this up, it gets colder and colder. And I can disable temperature by clicking on the temperature button.
Huh.
And all the way down here, we have light color. So as you can guess, light color
You can change the color of the
just
light.
changes the color of our light.
Is it
The
just going
controls
here
are
now?
exactly the same as our materials. And above all these is the indirect lighting intensity. So right now it's set at 1. When I set it to 0, we're going to have very little bounce light. And our shadows end up like beforehand, where they're pretty dark. Not much bounce lighting is happening. Or instead of 1, which is its default, I can bring it up to 10. And now we have a lot of bounce lighting. So I'm just going to leave it at 1 for now. So those were all the main settings for point lights. I'm going to delete that, and let's go over the next light right now, and that is the spotlight. The spotlight is very similar to the point light, although unlike the
Oh
point
my
light, the
god, that
spotlight...
looks actually super cool. So we're gonna select you, delete tools, build. Okay, wait a second. How is he getting access to that? I I must have missed it.
at 1 for now. So those were all the main settings for point lights. I'm going to delete that, and let's go over the next light.
Oh, he hit the add button, and then you get the lights. Okay, I see. I went to tools, so but it's an add, lights, spotlight. That is so cool, dude. Oh, we gotta increase my speed a little bit. Not in the building. We need to put it in the building. Look at that. Look at that. That's awesome. That is awesome. Look at that. And you get that like kind of gloomy look in like hallways and stuff like that from the point light. That's so interesting. Oh my god. I want to make like walkways with spotlights and have walkways with those point lights and kind of test the differences with the
right now,
lighting.
and that is the spotlight. The spotlight is very similar to the point light, although unlike the point light, the spotlight is just illuminating one direction.
Yeah.
And you could
Super
change
cool.
the direction the light is pointing
By
by, of
rotating it.
course, rotating it.
Yeah.
The settings are the exact same as the point light, except we have an inner and outer cone angle. So the outer cone angle will control the size of our spotlight,
Ooh,
and the
okay.
inner cone angle will control the fall off of our light. So I'm going to go to game view mode so we can better see this. And as I increase the inner cone angle, we can see that our lighting gets sharper and sharper and sharper.
God
And if
damn.
I decrease it all the way to 0, there's a very soft fall off. So those are the controls for the
Inner
spotlight. I'm going to delete that and
inner
go into
cone
the
angle.
next one. And that is the rectangle light. So rectangle light is pretty similar to the spotlight and directional light,
Except it's in
except
one
now we're
direction.
emitting from a rectangle pointing in a specific direction.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can see the outline of the light
No, I
when it's
see it.
against the wall. And I control the size of the rectangle by going into source width and increasing the width, or I can increase the height. I can even, just like beforehand, play with the fall off by decreasing the barn door angle from 88 all the way to 0. And hopefully you can better see it from this angle,
Hmm.
what the barn door is. Or I can
Yeah.
increase the length. So we
That's
have a lot of
interesting.
control pointing in a specific direction infinitely. And just like the spotlight,
OBS disconnected. Why OBS disconnects? Why did OBS disconnect? Okay, well, it looks like I'm live again.
0. And hopefully you can better see it from this angle.
Hmm. We're gonna refresh. Am I live? Am I live? Am I live? Am I live? Hello? 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 Okay. Okay. I'm live. Hello? Okay. Okay. Interesting. I like lost internet connection for a second. There.
If I rotate this around, I'm able to control the direction of our sun. The directional light has pretty much the same exact controls as our point light, except if I zoom in on the shadows, we get source angle. Bringing up the source angle makes the shadows smoother, and bringing down the source angle makes the shadows sharper.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to reset its value by clicking on the arrow icon, and I'm going to delete our directional light since there's one last light I want to
The
show,
directional light is the
and
sunlight.
that is the skylight. So let's drag in the skylight, and you'll notice nothing is happening. And the reason why is because the skylight is pretty unique. Essentially what it does is that it captures our sky and then it projects it onto our world. And right now our skylight isn't doing anything
Because we
because
don't have a sky.
obviously our world doesn't have any sky. So the way we can add sky is pretty simple in Unreal Engine 5. You just want to come up to the add button, come all the way down to visual effects, and drag in a sky and atmosphere. Simply place it right there. And again, if I look up, we don't have any.
Hold on. We're this is one we're doing. Okay. So we're gonna add lights, a skylight. Okay. Okay. Add effects. It was a visual effects sky atmosphere, which of course we're gonna kind of keep close to what this is. Okay. We're following him on this one.
Sky, since the sky requires a directional light, which is the sunlight. So let's also come up to add, down to lights, and drag in a directional light for our sky. Now, if our skylight isn't working, then it has to be
Okay. Hold on. Slow it down, Buster. So add light, directional light.
refreshed by going into the details panel and turning on and off effects world. Now, the reason why I know the lighting in our room right now is from the sky and not from the directional light is because the directional light is not hitting the inside of our room.
Mm. So what did he do to refresh the thing?
Not from the directional light. Why I know the lights panel and turning on and off effects world. Now refreshed by going into the details panel and turning on and off effects world.
Turning on and off effects world. One second. Let me see which one he's using. So directional light seems to be the one he's got selected right now.
Drag in a directional light for our sky. Now if our skylight isn't working, then it has to be refreshed by going into the details panel and turning on.
Effects world. Okay, let's go. That's nuts. So if I move this out, because once again it's supposed to be like a sky. That's so cool. So cool.
On and off effects world. Now, the reason why I know the lighting in our room right now is from the sky and not from the directional light is because the directional light is not hitting the inside of our room. So if I move it around, then we can see that our directional light is illuminating our room. But if I move it, that's how it's coming from the back.
Okay, so the directional light is the one that controls. That's so interesting. Look at that. I'm a god.
The lighting is entirely coming from the skylight. And we can see this better by hiding and unhiding the skylight by using the effects world right there. So here the skylight is being used, and here the skylight isn't. So
Mhm.
this is without skylight, and this is with skylight. And something that's pretty cool about the skylight is that if I add in a cube, so let's come up to shapes, cube, drag that in, scale that up, we can make a makeshift door. And now notice how as I move my cube, the skylight slowly starts to illuminate our room. So that's why the skylight is a pretty big deal, since it allows us to capture our sky and project it onto our world as lumen lighting. And finally, it's time to go over lumen settings. So these are settings that affect all of our lumen lighting before we move on to lighting an environment completely from scratch. So I'm going to delete everything, and I'm just going to add in a simple point light once again, because I want to show and also decrease the intensity to 4. And this is probably something you've noticed, is that there is a lot of noise, especially in the shadows. Now, I don't know if it shows up due to the YouTube compression, but if you are following along with the tutorial, you can see a lot of that noise. And to get rid of that noise, we need to play with the lumen settings, which are located in our post-process volume. So find out where your post-process volume is.
1 second, brother. 1 second, brother. We're gonna add that light. Just a standard point light. Okay. Kind of move you up here, and then we will get rid of delete. Okay. We are back to our standard world here. He was saying something about a lot of noise. I'm not 100% certain what he means by that, but we're gonna figure that out, I guess. Let's figure this out. Let's figure this out.
As a reminder, you could create a post-process volume by coming up to add,
So
volumes.
there's post-process volume already in here, correct? And there's almost always a post-process volume. Every time I load up one of these projects, there's always a post-process volume. Um, But he went to add volumes.
and post process volume,
Okay,
and make
simple.
sure in your post process volume that infinite extent unbound is turned on because otherwise our post process volume will not be affecting our entire world.
Right.
So you want to come down all the way inside the post process volume to global illumination, and by default lumen is turned on, and we get a bunch of lumen settings under lumen global illumination.
Yeah.
So first off, to get rid of that noise, check final gather quality and increase it from 1 to 4. Now we can see that noise slow.
Okay. So let's see. So lumen. So he wanted to make sure it was the infinite extend, which is on. We're gonna go back up to that lumen. Lumen reflections. Quality, ray lighting, max roughness to trace. Screen space. Let's go back real quick to see what he fucked with. Final gather quality in lumen global illumination. Lumen global illumination. Final gather quality, and we're gonna make it 4. I don't know what he means by noise, to be honest. Maybe it's just because I don't see it.
Slowly start to disappear, and there is a lot less noise. We could even increase this to 10, and now our scene definitely looks a lot better. So if we hover over any of these settings, it gives us a very quick description. While final gather quality does get rid of the noise, it also comes at the cost of GPU.
Oh, hell no, brother. Should have told me that first. Bring that back down to, disable.
So just keep that in mind that if you do increase final gather quality, you might lose on some performance. There are also some other settings, which I'm going to go over in the next chapter. That's the basics of lighting in UE5. Now we're going to take the knowledge that we just learned and apply it to lighting an architectural visualization scene. First, we're going to light the environment by using lumen and movable lights. Then we're going to light the same exact environment, but with static and baked lighting. So we're going to compare the two methods of getting global illuminations and see their pros and cons. The specific architectural environment is already included within our lighting examples that we migrated into our first project. We can see under lighting examples maps, it's the map that's right next to the map that we've been editing, which is light bounce. So let's double click on ArcViz.
Okay. Okay. Control space. Arc Viz room. Don't save. Don't save. We're gonna leave that standard to how he had it. Oh shit, it's like pitch black. But I think that's intentional.
Room, and we won't see anything because there are no lights. If I press Alt and 3, or if I click on unlit from the view mode, that this environment is just a simple room with some furniture and a window from which all our light is going to come from. So a very simple room which will help us learn and get the gist of how to light a scene in Unreal Engine.
Okay.
I'm going to press Alt and 4 as a shortcut to go back into our default view mode. Now the first light I'm going to add in is the main light, which is
Ooh, chopper done. We're gonna do push-ups as a celebration. I need to like stand up anyways for a second. Oh my gosh. I have become a master of lights. I can now control all of the lights. But in a game now, I feel like a god. I think I can control lighting also. Hold on, I'm gonna do some push-ups real quick. I need to like stretch and get my body moving because it's me, yeah, but not in the face. That just be kind of funny. I just full throttle it too. Okay. Did
Is
a little
the
bit of stretching.
sun. So let's add in a directional light. And I'm going to rotate it so
Huh? Yeah, I drank it all. It's right here. It's within reach. Let me focus on this. I'm at the hour and 40-minute mark. I'm not halfway done yet. This is long. It's a lot of good info, though.
that the sun is coming through the window. And
Okay.
already
So it's a directional lighting he did, correct? Directional lighting? So let's do add light directional lighting. Hold on. Let me make it so I unlit. The goal is to put it inside, not outside. I want to be in the room, not out of the room. Okay, now we're gonna go back to lit. And theoretically, so selected. Let's do that thing. Um, that's so fucking cool. That's so cool. Look at that. That's super cool. Okay.
ready, especially right here, we can see global illumination and lumen at work. So I want to find a nice angle. I think right there is pretty good. But if we look outside, there is no sky. It kind of looks scary just seeing an endless black void. So let's add in a sky by coming back up here to visual effects
Nope.
and
Hold
the
on. Hold
sky
up.
and
Don't teach me. Don't teach me. You taught me already. I'm gonna do it. So there was normally like two things. So there was the light skylight. Okay, which will also move kind of indoors. Okay, and then he also had, which of course it that's so cool. And then he did the, was it sky atmosphere? Let's just see. Yeah, it was sky atmosphere. Okay, so those are the three to make sky. Let me see if I was right. Let me see if I did it correct.
atmosphere. So drag that in. But half of our world, the bottom half, is still a black void. We can hide that black void with fog. So come back up to add, visual effects, and below sky and atmosphere, we have exponential height fog. Simply drag that in. And now if we look outside the window, all we see is sky, which is what I want.
Exponential height fog. So again, we're gonna kind of keep these things in the room as he kind of just does this stuff for me. And now it looks like it's just water. Where's the sun? Let's get the sun. I want like a, Yeah. Yeah. That's so awesome. It's kind of right above. It's like midday almost. It's like probably what 1 p.m.
But there is a little bit of an issue, and that is if we hide and unhide the exponential height fog, we can see that there is a little bit of fog inside of our room, and we don't want that. So
What?
within the exponential height fog,
Hold on. Hold on. What do you mean by that? And how are you hiding this thing? Oh, what? Bro, this is negligible, right? Am I? This dude's fucking picky as shit.
one of the settings we're going to change is right here, start distance. I'm going to drag us all the way up to its max of 5,000. So essentially, start distance is 6.
So it's gonna render everything up to 5,000 fucking meters. Is that what you're fucking telling me right now? You fucking kidding me? Okay.
Saying, do not use fog until we're 5,000 centimeters away from our camera. So now if I hide and unhide it, we don't have any fog inside our room. There is one more light that I want to add to our room,
5,000
and that
centimeters.
is the skylight. So let's come with lights, skylight, and drag it in. So we can already see that our room got a little bit of a bluish tint from our sky. I can hide and unhide it right here. So effects world, turn it off, and turn it back on. So we can see that it does make a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to set the skylight to movable and also set the sun to movable. Since both of these lights are being used with Lumen, we aren't baking any lights. And another thing I'm going to do is add in a post-process volume. Since
So
if we
why
come
did he set them to movable? That's my question. Why did he specifically set these up to be movable? What exactly does that do? So right now it's in stationary. You're in stationary. We're gonna set you both to movable. But what does that mean by movable?
over here, and I don't know if it's noticeable in the YouTube video, but there is a little bit of noise. So we can get rid of that by adding in the post-process volume. Simply drag it in and make sure you scroll down and infinite extent unbound is turned on so we don't have to be in the post-process.
Okay. Let's add that post process. So visual effects, right? No, no. I'm gonna find it. It was volumes. Post process. Volume. It could be outside, I guess. But what we need to do, change infinite extent. Okay, you can be outside. You can be outside. I don't know what it means by noise, to be honest. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Process volume for it to take effect. Now let's zoom all the way up to Lumen Global Illumination. And right here for final gather quality, instead of 1, I'm going to set that to 10. And
Oh, okay. It's illumination. Final gather quality. And he sets it to 10. So I'm going to actually stare at this. Oh! Wow, that actually pisses me off. That's what's. Oh my god, hold on. We are not doing 10. That actually hurts my computer. We're just not going to worry about the gather quality. I don't care for that.
a lot of that noise just disappeared.
Yeah, but it also killed
Also,
my
I want
frame
to add
rates.
some soft shadows to the really small objects. Since right now there is no soft shadow that's being given off from the phone, the clock, or the coffee mug. So the reason why is because I have to increase the lumen scene detail right here from 1 to 4. So this was beforehand at 1.
Okay, I can do that. Lumen scene detail 4. I see it. I see it. Oh, okay.
And now this is 4. So by default, to save on processing power, Lumen excludes a lot of small objects from its calculations. So you need to tell Unreal that you want them within the Lumen calculation by increasing it from 1 to 4 or even higher if you do have smaller objects. And one last edit I'm going to make to the post-process volume is setting it for a manual exposure. So under exposure, metering mode, set to manual. Bring up the exposure compensation to 13.25. It's pretty good.
Exposure, manual, exposure compensation. He did like 13, but we're going to do 12. I think 12 gets me to a kind of similar situation that I was at before.
And also, this is an artistic choice. If we increase it, we can see that we get more bloom in our world. So maybe a value of 2. So this is without bloom
He
and
said
with
artistic
bloom.
choice.
I do think it makes the scene look a little bit nicer. And that is the basics of lighting and environments in Unreal Engine 5, specifically for architectural visualization. And since we're using Lumen, that gives us the ability with Control and L as a shortcut to rotate our sun, watch
Control L.
our world be updated in real time.
That's so cool. Control L. Look at that. That's so cool. So cool. So cool. Control L. Control L.
Based off of our sun's lighting, which is pretty insane.
That's
Now, while
awesome.
Lumen is amazing, we do get some trade offs in quality. Just because we are able to use real time global illumination doesn't mean that it's the best case for certain scenarios, specifically a scenario like this, where there isn't going to be any moving parts since it's just an architectural visualization scene. We might as well bake our lighting because, number one, baked lighting is always more performance friendly than using Lumen because Lumen does do a lot of GPU calculations behind the scenes, while baked lighting is just overlaying a texture. And number two, if you properly bake your lights into a good light map, then the quality will be better than Lumen. So let's convert our Lumen environment into a baked lighting environment. So I want to make a copy of our current level, which is ArcViz Room, by selecting it in our content drawer and pressing Ctrl and D to duplicate it. So let's call this one ArcViz Room Baked.
Okay. D. ArcViz. ArcViz room baked. ArcViz room baked.
And double click to go inside of it. Make sure we save selected.
Okay, so we're actually going to save it. Save selected.
All right, great. So first thing I'm going to do is select all my lights and set my directional light to static and set my skylight also to static. Now I'm going to go into my post-process.
Okay, directional light and skylight static. So the skylight is now going to be static and the directional light is going to be static. Okay. Oh, preview, preview, preview. That's interesting. Okay.
process volume and disable lumen for reflections and global illumination. So set this to none, and under reflections, also set this to none.
Back. So I know we're on the post processor, but what did he
So
mess
set
with?
this to none and disable lumen for reflections and global
Global illumination.
illumination. So set this to none.
Global illumination, none. So where did my post processor go? He's out here. Method, none. Okay. And what else did he mess with?
None, and under reflections, also set this to none. So we can see immediately we are
Reflections, none. Oh my gosh. It looks terrible.
aren't getting any global illumination. That's because I should come up to build and build all levels to start ray tracing in the background. All right,
Okay. So let's try that. Build. Build all levels. Oh man, my computer is way worse than his. Yeah, he got his done fast, bro. He got his done fast. Mine's really chugging here. Mine's like, oh man, dude, what'd you do to me? Okay, so we got it.
great. So here we have our baked lighting. This
Looks
is
like
really
ass.
bad since we need to increase the quality
Did mine come out looking like? Oh, mine did come out looking like ass too. Okay.
of our light bakes by going into the world settings. And if I scroll up, we can see that under light mask, we have light mask settings. And in the drop down, we have a bunch of settings that will change.
Light mask. We are still in the post process. Let's get rid of exposure for a second. Get rid of film. Reflections, lumen reflections, screen space. What's up, hon? Soda? Okay. Huh? I got Monster. Where did he find that light mass? Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I couldn't find it. Let me see where he found it. It literally says light mass. Post process volume, so he's still in post. Oh, he's in world settings. Do I have world settings? I don't have world settings. Okay, so I see what's going on. So I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember where I found where he showed us where world settings was. Oh, it's down here. Light mass. Okay. Okay, we got it. We got it. We're good. We're good. We're good.
The quality of our light baking. So first thing, I want to increase the number of bounces, which will just illuminate our scene a little bit more. So the number of indirect lighting bounces is right now set to 3. Let's set that to 10.
Okay. Light mass. Light mass settings. Number indirect lighting bounces. He set to 10. Okay.
And also for skylighting bounces, set this from 1 to 10.
Okay, so he's also just he's keeping it simple. 10.
Number 2, for static lighting level scale, if we bring this below 1, for example 0.5, then we're going to get a lot more quality out of our bakes. So I'm going to set this, instead of 0.5, let's set this to 0.1. And to compensate
0.1.
for the static lighting level scale, you want to increase the indirect lighting quality to 10.
He keeps an easy number, huh? Indirect lighting quality 10.
So specifically, I want to increase the indirect lighting quality to 10 because the static lighting level scale right now is set to 0.1. And generally, you want your static lighting level scale times your indirect lighting quality to equal 1. So for example, if instead of static lighting level scale being 0.1, I change it to 0.5,
It'd be
then the
50.
indirect lighting quality should be set to 2, since 0.5 times 2 equals 1. But I'm going to leave it at 0.1 since that does give us a better value at the cost of waiting a little bit more for the ray trace calculations to happen.
What? Wait.
And now that
Wait.
I like my settings,
Hold on. Time out.
come to build and click on build all levels. So
How
this
long?
build will take longer than beforehand because we increase the quality of our light bakes. So now
He finished very, very fast. If I do build and I do build on levels, this is gonna take me 10 fucking minutes, bro. Oh, never mind. Okay, so I think what took me so long was that swarm thing wasn't being allowed. Ooh, that came out. Oh, wait. It's still kind of funky. His came out
this is our
funky.
scene, and we didn't really notice that much of a difference since I also want to come up to build and under lighting quality, make sure that it's not set to preview. Instead, it's set to either medium, higher production. I'm just going to set to medium.
Lighting quality medium.
And also while I'm at it, I'm going to select my post-process volume and let's bring down the bloom since I think the bloom is too intense to 1.
Okay, so we're turning down bloom. Disable bloom, brother. Post process volume. All right, I need to lower the world up. World settings needs to get lowered. Fuck. World settings is too high. Oh, okay. Actually, that's okay. Bloom. Motion blur. He's like, it's like all the way at top, right? Bloom. Well, hold on. Mine looks a little bit different than his. So intensity. Okay, never mind. He enabled intensity. Got it. 1.
And for exposure compensation, I'm going to leave it at, let's go 12.7.
12.7 for exposure. Compensation. $12.7.
And now if I press build all levels. Keep in mind that if you are following along exactly with this tutorial, you do not have to press build whenever I press build, since I'm building my lights a lot more frequently than I would.
No, this is fine. You know, we're testing things, right? I'm experimenting. Why would I not do it every time he does it? It's to kind of go through the process, kind of figure out what we want, figure out how we want to get it. They got an autosave system. That's kind of cool. We're 50%, guys. Oh god, the lighting is gonna take forever. Baking kind of sucks. The Lumen thing was really convenient and wasn't hurting my computer so much. It's taking a minute, but I guess after you're done with the baking part, I guess it just doesn't eat up your lighting all that much. So lighting is done, but the shadows are still. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, shadows are still ass. So how is he gonna handle that?
To just demonstrate what some of these settings do. So if you want to save time and not have to wait for each build, then I would wait for the very end and copy those settings. We can see that the quality is still not the best.
Yes.
Because if you remember, light maps are being baked into a texture. And if that texture has a low resolution, then we're going to get low resolution shadows and lighting. So we need to raise the resolution on each of our static meshes. And to see the resolution of our static mesh visually, you can come up to Lit, down to Optimization View Modes, and select Light Map Density with the shortcut Alt and 0. So right now, our entire room is pretty much blue. This is not what we want. We want our scene to be in the greenish to reddish range. So to increase the light map resolution of a static mesh, you want to select the object, and within the details panel, scroll down until you see lighting and overridden light map resolution. It's at 64. Turn that on and increase that to, let's try 128 or 256.
256. Lighting. Overridden light map resolution 256. Okay.
And okay, that looks a little bit better, but since this is the floor and it
It's green. It's more green than that. So I guess that's bad, right?
will have some of the shadow, I want to increase that to 512. So
512. That sounds like a lot of. 512. Okay, it's actually a darker green than that now. Which I'm assuming means it's really good. Or it's acceptable.
make the floor pretty dense. I think the walls around it should also be, let's go 512, and the roof can also be 512.
So okay, so he's just making all the walls 512. And then we may as well touch this one as well. And that's red.
So for the baseboard, I'm going to select that and make this, let's try 256.
Okay, so he's kind of going lower res on this one. So which means I kind of maybe want to make this wall 256 too. Okay, at least for now. At least for now.
The door needs to increase it from 64 to 128.
Well, so why these numbers in particular?
The chair is a pretty big deal since it's our focal element. So let's go 256 right there.
Okay, but why? Why these numbers in particular, and why is he going random? Random as fuck. He's not necessarily explaining. He's just like, we're gonna do this now, then we're gonna do this.
And for the wall is at 256. I'm going to try 512. The table is at 128. Actually, let's make this 512. The wall
Why 512? Why are these getting 512? I don't understand the reasoning. So now he's on this wall, which I did initially 512, but
all
I
right
lowered it.
here, 512, and
Okay, no, he just went straight to 512. Red.
the floor. Actually, I'm going to increase this to 124.
What?
So
1024. Bro. 1024. Okay, well, I mean, now it's red.
think this looks good. Now, if we bake our lights, let's see what this gives us. So at
Oh,
this point, it is going to take a little while for our lights to bake, since there's a lot more detail it needs to calculate. And probably by now you understand why Lumen is a pretty big deal, since it gets rid of this repetitive process of having to wait for a light.
oh my gosh, that's because you're being so fucking, like, picky. You're being so picky. Okay, we're gonna go back to lit. I actually I never realized the floor was white. Okay, but now we're gonna build. And now this is gonna take what, like a fucking hour? It was taking him a hot minute, and he's got a much better computer than me. Ugh. So one error, zero warnings. What's up, fun? I guess I've got a minute. You gotta get outside more. You need to walk more. I'm still at 0%, guys. This light baking thing sucks ass. Actually sucks ass. Oh, oh man. So I don't think I'm gonna be doing light baking at all. I like that Lumen system. It was super basic. Um, it didn't seem to cause all these issues. 48%. Okay, it's working now. But supposedly after you bake it in, like it's done, right? It's just a part of that asset now. So the process in itself is more difficult, but the result of the lighting seems to be more like resource friendly. Hmm. So you're trading off like more demanding work consistently happening, or just like a big front load of work and then like little none in the end. But let's look at the quality. But he fucking turned everything red. I'd have been happy with green, to be honest. 100%. I think I'd have been happy with green. We're at 50%. We are halfway done with the lighting. feel like I'm rendering a picture, you know, like a fucking crazy ass system. But it's cool, man. We're like working on rooms now. It's really interesting. Really interesting. I want to know what I want to know. And obviously he's showing us how lighting works. So he walked us through how to do like meshes and bringing in stuff. And now he's working on showing us lighting, which I feel like we're already almost done with the lighting section. So I wonder what he's going to show us next. Or if we're actually going to start building that world. We're 64%. I'm not I'm not worried about these. We can close that. 70% of lighting is done. What do you guys think? Should I do lumen? I'm thinking I don't think I need lighting that much. I'm not really interested in the lighting system. I might play with the lumen lighting because I thought that was really cool actually, to be honest. But I want to see how this turns out because he made us do crazy, crazy detail. So I want to see how it actually looks. We're at 97%, so we're almost done. Almost done. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I swear to God, if his looks way different than mine. I followed every step, but I got a garbage computer, brother. Garbage computer. And we're lighting up like a single fucking room. I need to learn how to do optimization. I'm hoping he goes over optimization. Oh, hey, it looks about the same as with that lumen stuff, but I took like way more steps to get it to look like this. But we're done, so we're now going to watch him.
To bake, and then if we don't like the bake, we have to change something and change some settings, and then bake our lighting again. And then if we don't like that, we have to go back, and it's an entire process. While Lumen just works immediately, but in this case, it is worth it since the quality is going to be better than Lumen. Okay, now that we're done baking, let's see what our world looks like. And okay, that's a lot better, but the shadows, especially in between objects, are a little bit too intense. Since by default Unreal is calculating ambient occlusion, I want to disable ambient occlusion since I'm just relying on our baked light map to simulate all of our shadows and lighting. So within our post-process volume, let's go find where ambient occlusion is, which is right here under rendering features.
I swear to fucking God, if he renders again, I'm gonna fucking throw.
Let's turn that to 0 to turn it.
Post-process. Brother. Bro, I swear to fucking God, I'm gonna fucking... Don't you dare make me sit through that again. Don't you dare make me sit through that again. So ambient. Let me check and see. So he's
All off.
ambient occlusion. Okay, so it's not that ambient. Q map, it's ambient occlusion. He's on intensity, and it's just going to be 0 to have it turned off.
And increase our exposure compensation to 13.
Exposure compensation. That's up here, right? He did 13. So 0.3 difference.
Okay, now our scene is baked, but we are missing one last thing, and that is we don't have any reflections whatsoever. Our world looks pretty bad since we don't have those reflections. And the reason why is because Lumen calculates reflections automatically. When we bake our lighting, we have to specify where we want our reflections to be. And we do that through a sphere reflection capture. So to add a sphere reflection capture, come up to the add button, down to visual effects, and drag in a sphere reflection capture.
Okay, hold on. Add Visual effects. Sphere reflection capture. Where is it? Is it you? What? It's you. That's huge. Let's see what he does.
Essentially, what the sphere reflection capture does is that it takes a 360-degree snapshot from the sphere of our world, and then it uses that as the projection of our reflections. And to get a better snapshot of our world, come up to build and select build reflection captures. So right now,
1 second. We need to shrink this baby down. How do I shrink? How do I shrink it? I don't see the... Oh my god, it spawned in a massive one. How do I shrink it down? Okay, I think we just need to delete it. Delete. Delete. Sphere reflection capture. Delete. Let's try it again, but hopefully not get a fucking massive one, huh? Why did it do that? So add visual effects sphere reflection capture. Why are you fucking the size of a goddamn scaling? Scale. How do I modify this? Why is this happening? Delete. Oh my god, bro. It's default. Make it default size, please. There we go. E. Scale is 111. It says zero point 0.5, 0.5. So it's this little bugger here, but he's still fucking... I can't select him. I can't move him. I can't do anything with him. Why? Well, fuck it. Okay, I don't actually give a flying shit, I guess. We're gonna do what he wanted to do, I guess, which was build.
we have come up to build and select build reflection capture.
Okay. Build. Build reflection capture. Okay. What does that do?
So right now we have one reflection capture, but we can have multiple reflection captures since obviously it doesn't make sense for all reflections to grab from the same location. So if I duplicate this with Alt, and then if I decrease the influence radius within the details.
So I'm like fucked up right now. Because I can't move it. Control D. Delete. Delete. What's up, hon? Dude, this fucking game is actually gonna make me fucking jump off a cliff. Huh? I can't move it. It's huge. I don't know why. So, but, but still fucking massive. It still doesn't let me move it. Is it because it's just different now? Because it's not the same as it was in the previous versions? Is that why? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I can't do anything with this. It's not what I want. But build reflection capture. Okay. On the bright side though, you can kind of see. That's interesting.
Panel to, let's go 500, and place it on top of my small objects right here. And once again, come up to build and build reflection captures. We can see that these objects, instead of grabbing from this sphere reflection capture, they're grabbing from the smaller one, which is overriding the larger one. Since the reflection capture on the table is smaller, Unreal knows to pick this sphere reflection capture for all the objects within its radius of 500 centimeters. So this is essentially how you bake lighting in Unreal Engine. Now I know that the setup took a lot longer than using Lumen. Also, we have to wait a while for each light baking to happen and for all the light maps to be created and the ray tracing to happen. But in the end, in my opinion, the quality, especially right here, if I select the chair and hide it, you can see how detailed those soft shadows are. And if I unhide it, take a good look at this baked lighting scene, jump back into our ArcViz room, which is using Lumen. Obviously, the baked lighting looks a lot better. So hopefully you understand the difference between baked lighting and Lumen, their pros and cons, and why you would use baked lighting over Lumen, even though Lumen is real time. That is the very basics of lighting in Unreal Engine. Of course, you could get even more complicated because the lighting is an entire art form by itself. But hopefully you do have a good foundation to learn more. Now we're going to go over landscapes. So landscapes in Unreal are pretty important because odds are you will always be seeing a landscape or your character is on top of a landscape. So in this section, we're going to go over how we can create a landscape, sculpt it, and finally at the end, go over how to add foliage. To demonstrate how to make landscapes, let's create an entirely new map. So press Control Space and let's go into My Stuff. And right here, let's create a brand new folder called Maps, which will hold all of our maps.
Okay. We're moving on from this god-awful system. My stuff. New folder. He just wants to call it maps, so that's what we're going to open it up to. And then let's see if he just throws all these maps in his one section.
So I'm going to select both my map and my build data and drag it into maps, let go, and move here. So let's jump into there and right click, create a brand new level. So
Okay. Map and build data. I see map. Where it says build data. Material level. Move. Hold on. I'm not 100% certain where he got the build data from.
right here, let's create a brand new folder called Maps, which will hold all of our maps. So I'm going to select both my map and my build data and drag it into maps, let go, and move here. So let's jump into there and right click, create a brand new level. So by right clicking and creating a level, instead of coming up to File and New, we don't get access to the templates, which is fine. I do want to create a brand new level completely from scratch. So let's call this one Landscape Example and jump in. So let's save everything. The reason why we're starting from a blank level is because I want to show how to light an outdoor environment from scratch.
Okay. First material, Material Master. I don't understand where he got like the material from. But we're just gonna fucking whoop. Move here. Doesn't matter. Open this up, and then we're gonna do new level. Landscape example, I think he did. Landscape underscore example. Mm. Landscape example. Open. Save selected. Okay. Empty. Blank.
Scratch. Okay, to begin, let's create a landscape. To create a landscape, you need to go into landscape editing mode. To do so, come up to select mode and then select landscape. Finally, we're going to go over what some of these modes do. So you can press landscape, or the shortcut is shift and 2. So throughout this tutorial, so far we've been in
One step at a time, brother. One step at a time. We are now in landscape mode. We can see basically what is effectively the game's floor.
select with the shortcut shift and 1. Now we're going to go into shift and 2 to edit our landscape. We don't have a landscape, so Unreal is going to ask us if we want to create a landscape. We see that we get a bunch of different settings that we could pick from. Generally, I don't play with these settings, I just leave it as default. But if you are going to play with those settings, I recommend you use the templates provided to you from the Unreal documentation. Type in Unreal Docs, and then type in Landscape Technical Guide. So if you are going to change any of these settings, I recommend you use the presets. For now, I'm going to use the default settings and press create. Okay, great. Now we have a landscape, but before
Okay. So it's default create.
we start editing our landscape, it's best to light our scene so we know exactly what is happening. First off, let's add in a directional light. So add light.
Okay, so we're gonna light the scene. So I think what he's going to add is obviously the directional light and then a skybox. And then he's going to add sky. Just so we can see what's going on, right? I'm assuming. Let's go from landscape mode to selection so I can select you. E, W. How come I can't move you? Why can't I move you? Uh, what about you? Can I move you? E, R. Where's the options?
Directional light. Simply drag that in. We can leave
He's got the options. How come?
all the settings at default, except I'm going to set to movable since I want to use completely dynamic light.
Movable. Why? Oh, oh, well, there they are. Okay, I just had to, I guess, get rid of gamer mode. Well, reset the gamer mode thing. Okay. Alright, so we have a sky, and then I want to do visual effects and add sky atmosphere. So we've got a sky and we have a ground. Okay. But he's changing something. He was changing something on the standard directional thing. He made it movable. Why?
Lighting. To help us know the direction of the light and how the shadows will look like, I'm going to add in a cube temporarily to help us when we're lighting our scene.
Okay. Let's do that. Add basic shape cube. Okay. We'll just And make it nice and flat.
Just like that. Now, obviously, we don't want an endless black void. We want a sky. So come up to Create, Visual Effects, and select the sky and atmosphere to drag it in. And automatically it's working. If I hold down Control and L as a shortcut to rotate my sun, notice that the sky updates in real time.
It's so
So
cool,
as I
dude.
lower my sun, the sky changes colors to represent a morning time or a dusk time. And I can raise it up to get a more bluish sky, which is pretty amazing that Unreal automatically updates your sky depending on your sun's angle.
That's amazing.
Now, there are two issues. We still have a black void in the lower half of our
The
world,
fog.
and zooming in on the shadow, it's pretty dark. We're getting a little bit of global illumination and bounce lighting from our sun, but we need lighting from our sky as a whole. So to fix that, come up to Add.
Oh. Let me see if I can solve it. Let me see if I can solve it. After all, he walked us through these. I want to see if I can solve it first. So we're gonna go to Visual Effects, and it was the fog. Exponential height fog to hide the height. Okay. So you don't get that endless black void. In fact, we're actually going to do that thing that he did with the distance. Or like its start distance. I mean, I guess for now we'll leave it super short, but that's good. And then of course I've already got the skylight, baby. I think this is the coolest thing though, man. Control L. That's so fucking cool. I think that's literally one of the coolest fucking features this game has. Now about this, I don't know what he plans on doing with the shadow. I'm trying to remember the lighting stuff, but I don't remember what he did with the shadow. Like how to handle shadows. But we'll see what he's got going. But I did the fog.
Lights, and drag in a skylight. Now, it's recommended for skylights that under real-time capture, make sure it's turned on if you are going to use a skylight with the sky and atmosphere. And also, while we're at it,
Oh, skylight. Real-time capture on. There we go. So that fixed that. Immediately it fixed that. Dude, that's so fucking awesome. That's what he did that I didn't do. Okay, I got it. I got it. We're going to Control S. We're going to save.
set it to movable since we're only using lumen lighting.
Okay. That's okay. He set that to movable. Let's make sure all this is set to movable. Movable. I don't think this matters, but it's already on movable, so I'm fine with that.
Also, let's go fix our black void by adding in some fog to cover that. So come into Visual Effects and Exponential Height Fog. Simply drag it out like this. And we can control where the exponential height fog starts by moving the widget. So if I move it up, we get more fog, and if I move it down, we get less fog. So hopefully you can see what's happening.
Awesome.
For now, I'm going to leave it.
We're going to bring it up a little bit.
And
okay, yeah, if you want, yeah, you can. Did you start watching this video or no? Are you still doing on YouTube Shorts? You TikTok brain, you. You can't even. I'm already at 2 hours, hun. I'm disappointed. You told me you wanted to learn this with me, but you're not even. Yes, of course, yes. No, yes, please cook dinner. Okay. hmm I'm a master at this game already. Unreal Engine, easy. At lights. And setting up like basic objects.
in the middle right here. And with that, a
I'm proud of
directional
myself.
light, sky and atmosphere, skylight, and fog is pretty much how you light 90% of open world scenes in Unreal Engine 5. It is literally that easy, and what's amazing is that all these objects interact with each other successfully. So I can move my sun around, lower it, create a really dark area, lower it to the point where it's night, and then raise it. Slowly the sun comes above the fog.
That's so cool.
And starts to illuminate our world. So it's completely real-time, time of day lighting. Now that we set up the lighting, we're able to see any edits we make to our landscape. So let's finally go over the landscape editing mode. And to do so, I need to come up to my mode selector and select the landscape from select, or I can press Shift and 2 as the
Okay, we're going to landscape mode. Got it. We're back to landscape mode, gents.
shortcut. So by default, it's going to give us this brush right here. And as you could probably guess, hold down the left mouse button, I'm able to sculpt and raise the terrain. So
Yes,
left mouse button is to raise the terrain. If I hold down shift and left mouse button,
it
then I
lowers.
lower the terrain. And by default, we are using the basic sculpt brush. I can even increase the tool strength. So right now it's at 0.3. Of course, if I bring it up to 1, then our sculpts will be a lot more intense. Even holding down shift, I can really lower the landscape's terrain. If I want to, I can control the fall off of this brush with the brush fall off. So bring it to 0 will
And
mean there is no fall off.
it just means
So
it
I get
lowers
some
it, right?
insanely harsh sculpts happening. Or I can bring it all the way up to 1, which makes the fall off non-existent, giving us the smoothest brush as possible for really faint changes to our landscape. Now, a shortcut to increasing the brush size is to use the right bracket key on my keyboard. So right bracket key will increase my brush size and left bracket key will decrease it. Very similar to Photoshop shortcuts. So that's the basics of the sculpt brush. As a reminder, if you ever want to get back the default values of any property in Unreal Engine, go to that property and select the arrow right next to it to reset it back to its default value. Now let's go over the smoothing brush. And as you can guess, if you have some really harsh landscapes and you want it to be smoother, like right here, it was really harsh since our fall off was non-existent. Using the smooth brush, I can smooth away those bumps in the landscape. So pretty great. And the next brush after that is the flatten brush.
It just
So flatten brush is great for
brings it back to
terracing,
0,
or
right?
maybe you're creating a game, for example, and let's say right here you need a flat area for your gameplay. Well, to get a flat area, of course, we need to use the flatten brush, which will just flatten our landscape.
That's so cool. Let's play around with this for a bit here. Okay, so we got sculpt, erase, smooth. Okay, so mine's actually a little bit different than his. I'm seeing. That's cool stuff, man. We get like a little mountain range here. And we'll go even slower here. What we should get is a kind of janky ass mountain, huh? Janky ass mountain range, but I think it's fucking awesome. That's awesome. Like, and then he had like smooth out. So let's say for example, okay, we're gonna sculpt, we're gonna go up. We're gonna make a pretty mountainous terrain over here. I just want this to be absolutely massive. Just everything come up, come up, come up, come up, come up. Just this whole region's gonna be just huge mountain range. I might be getting a little too crazy with it, but it'll make sense. Is that the highest it can go? Or is it just taking a long time? Okay, mountain range. So the right bracket widens, shrinks it, and then we're gonna smooth a small path, probably starting from over here. Okay, and it's like making a trail. Does it look? Oh yeah, it does. We're gonna sculpt a little bit more just to make it more like untenable looking. Gonna give it that walkway look. And then here, I want it, so I want it to be kind of that same height as here. And there's just going to be a little hidden village. Wouldn't that be fucking cool? Just kind of caverned in the middle of the mountains. They have their own little hidden area. That's awesome. That's so cool. As we kind of push that walkway-ish look. Woo! That's cool. And look, you couldn't even tell. You wouldn't even be able to tell looking out from over here. Like, oh, there's a village behind in that mountains of like 6 people living there. Okay, but we've been playing around enough. Let's see what he's doing.
It's also great for creating terraces. So if I start my flatten brush off right here, notice how we have a higher terrace and a lower one, and right below that, another one. So we're very quickly able to create some complicated landscapes with just these 3 brushes. And these 3 brushes are the main brushes. Generally, I don't really touch any of the other brushes, except for very specific circumstances, which we aren't going to be going over in this video.
Right.
Now, that's how you sculpt a landscape. But how do I paint a landscape? Since right now we're using Unreal's default material, of course landscapes in real life are not made out of squares. Instead, they're made up of grass, dirt, sand, rocks, and pretty much anything you would expect outside. Now I'm going to briefly go over how to create a very basic landscape material. Write the material under My Stuff, and call this one M_landscape.
M_landscape. Okay, so we're gonna My Stuff, new material, M for material underscore landscape. So it's just going to be the generalized grass or ground.
Double click to open it up. And I'm going to dock it up here so I can switch in between my level and landscape. Now the difference between a normal material and a landscape material is one node, and that is landscape layer blend.
Okay. He's doing things. Landscape layer blend is what he was talking about.
So select it, and here we have the layer blend. Notice how we don't have any inputs.
Layer blend. Landscape layer blend. This just says layer blend. Did I mess it up? No, it seems like I did the right one. It's just more explained.
That's because we need to specify inputs in the details panel right here. So the inputs are essentially going to be layers. So you can have a grass layer, a dirt layer, a sand layer, and then within your landscape editing mode, we'll be able to paint on those individual layers on our landscape. So to add in a layer, select your layer blend, and under layers, click on the add button. and make sure you click on the triangles to see the drop down. Now for the first layer, call this one grass.
Okay. We're doing some really interesting stuff here. So add a layer, drop down, layer name will be grass. Okay. He's going.
And the second layer, call this one dirt.
Okay.
Now this is just for demonstration, so it's not going to look very good. But to get the point across, let's go find a grass texture and a dirt texture under starter content, textures, and I'm going to use T_ground. Also for dirt.
Oh, I saw one for dirt. So let me grab the dirt one too. It was right next to it. Oh, it's gravel. So I got grass, gravel, moss, metal, sandstone, rock, wood flooring, grime, cobblestone. What?
Looks like we don't have a dirt, so I'm just going to use the metal rust texture.
Metal rust.
Because that does look like dirt, and it will get the point across. So drag in metal rust.
3D or 2D? Well, I'm following this Unreal Engine tutorial right now. So right now I finished. I'm only like 2 hours in, by the way. It's insanely long. Um, but I'll show you. So right now we're in like the landscaping thing, but we've already gone over how to like do lighting, and we did like different rooms with lighting, and then like setting up static meshes. It's 3D, I guess. I'm learning how to do 3D, but it's crazy. It's a lot. It's a lot. But right now he's teaching me um how to set up landscaping. So I guess I'm learning how to do 3D more than anything, which is really fascinating. Very fascinating. But we've already set up something like this before, so I might be able to just do this. But I want to see how he switches using the layer blending thing.
As our dirt. Now hook up grass right there and dirt. And I'll put these into base color and let's press apply.
Oh, I see. So the more of these you add to the layer blend, the more options you get in that box to just connect the different meshes. I get it. I get it. I get it. So we're actually going to move these this way then. Layer grass. Yeah, see, I labeled them too. That's so good. Layer dirt. But I guess I'm learning how to do 3D.
Save everything. Jump back into landscape examples. And now to apply the landscape material to our landscape, we can't just drag our material onto the landscape like that. Instead, in the details panel, scroll down and get landscape material and drag on the landscape material to the slot right there and let go. But we get a really weird black texture since we
Okay. So we're going to hit apply. Oh, hold up. I didn't connect this one. So now we'll hit apply, which turned black, which is what he was talking about. So now we'll come here, click on you, landscape, and then he went down physical material, landscape material, which I think is what he set it up as. We'll go back to my stuff. That needs to be saved. And then we will, oh, hold on. I can't see. Control space. Get out of here. A little bit higher, huh? Shit, I can't see it. Landscape material. Let me just make sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, that worked. It looks disgusting. It looks absolutely disgusting.
We need to specify where these layers are.
Right.
Right now, Unreal isn't picking any layers, so it's just defaulting to black. Hop back into your landscape mode by pressing Shift and 2, and within Paint, we have our layers. So we need to create our layers and store them somewhere within our content drawer. So to create a layer, click on the Add button, and you want to select Weight Blended Layer Normal. So select that. It's going to ask us to create a new landscape layer info, and it's going to automatically create a new folder for us where our map is located called our map name and shared assets. Now we could also create a new folder by right clicking and going new folder, or we could pretty much save this anywhere else in our project, but I'm just going to leave it as default value and also leave it at the default name it's generating, which is grass_layer info.
Okay. It's doing a lot of information right now. So we're still in landscape mode. Hold on. I need to actually go back for a second. How did he...
Hop back into your landscape mode by pressing Shift and 2, and within Paint, we have our...
Okay. So create layer info. Weight blended layer, right? He said he's leaving it default, but let's see specifically what he
our
does.
layer. So we need to create our layers and store them somewhere within our content drawer.
Right.
So to create a layer, click on the Add button, and you want to select Weight Blended Layer Normal.
Okay.
So select that. It's going to ask us to create a new landscape layer info, and it's going to automatically create a new folder for us where our map is located called our map name and shared assets. Now we could also create a new folder by right clicking and going new folder, or we could pretty much save this anywhere else in our project, but I'm just going to leave it as default value and also leave it at the default name it's generating, which is grass_layer info. Click save. Now we have our layer right there.
So we will leave it default, and it should have switched to grass. Okay. Oh, it's doing things. So do I do it for both or just one? I'm assuming for both, correct?
And we can see our grass has been applied to our landscape. Let's do the same thing for dirt by...
Oh yeah, he's doing it for both. We blended, save. Okay, we're just gonna go down here and click Control S to save, click Control S to save. Back to this section. So what that should do, I think, is I subtract one or the other. So if I were to subtract grass, it should become... Oh! Oops. Let me see what he does then, because I've never done
clicking
this.
on the plus button and going Weight Blended Layer Normal.
He's
Select
gonna leave
that.
Default.
And for dirt_layer, also click on save at the same location. So now we have two layers in a folder that's right next to our maps. And go to save all. Now obviously this landscape is too shiny. So jump back into M_landscape, hold down 1 and left click to bring a constant scalar parameter and give a value of 1. So we have complete roughness to get rid of that shine.
Okay. dragging it into roughness. Now, what's interesting is that he doesn't have these numbers. Well, let's get rid of that for a second. He doesn't have these numbers here. So he has to manually do this every single time he wants to set this up, just because I'm on a later version, a newer version of Unreal Engine. But it seems that there are still reasons to want to have these systems in place. Although I don't think it's as big of a deal as it used to be.
Shine, press apply.
Let me press apply. I forgot to do that. Okay, we're gonna Control S to save, and then he's gonna start
And our
painting now.
landscape is looking better.
Oh yeah, it looks like grass. It's not like super reflective anymore. Control L. Wow! Look at that. That's so cool. So cool. And I made my little hidden mountain range up here, but it's all grass, so it doesn't look good. Looks terrible. Let's see how they.
But I also think we should add in normal maps to give the texture a little bit of bump to it. So come back into our landscape material and press Control and space under textures. So starter content, textures. Let's find where the grass is.
He
Which
has
is
a
right
grass.
here. Drag out a normal map.
Okay. Oh. Whoa. Whoa. So we've already done a process like this before. So I should be able to find it pretty easy based off of what we've done before. Starter content textures, because we've done this before. So I want to make sure I can do it. Before he walks me through it, let me try to do it myself. This is the normal texture. Now, I'm curious if he just hooks it up to normal. Once again, I don't know if you saw that, but it had already numbers put in. So I don't think you necessarily need to do this. I think this is just an old school method that people, that you kind of had to walk through before to make it work. We're going to kind of condense it just a little bit here. I'm curious if he's also going to do like metallic, but not for ground. Ground doesn't make sense to have metallic. Maybe, no, he hasn't touched ambient occlusion at all during this tutorial. He actually has been avoiding it. So I think we have all of the systems that he's going to want for at least ground material.
And let's find where the normal map is for Rust. And that is right there, and drag that.
Oh, 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 okay, I fucked up. So we'll actually separate these. Oops. Okay, so I didn't do it 100%. So where was that Rust one? Metal Rust. So, we're gonna rename this. I'd like to rename this. Can I rename here somewhere? No, can I rename? I need to rename. The grass is on top, rust is on bottom. Let me see what he does with these.
That out. So I want to blend between our normal maps, just like how we're blending between the base colors. And I could do that by copying and pasting my layer blend, which I can do with Control and
Yep. Control D. Control D. Bring down here. And then put it in normal, correct? Let me see if I did that right.
D to duplicate. And plug up the normal map right there. And plug up the Rust normal map right there. And put those both in a normal. So now we have two layer blends, which are sampling from the same exact layers that we just created in our landscape editing mode. And press apply.
Okay.
Now let's jump into dirt. and lower the brush size just a little bit. See, the tool strength is at 0.3. Holding that left mouse button, I'm now able to blend in between dirt.
Oh shit, he's actually able to do it. Control S. So if I click on dirt, we're gonna lower the bracket. It's this one. Okay. Hey, look at that. I made it dirt or rust, but I mean, it looks like dirt kind of. I'm happy with it. We're gonna go a little bit smaller. It's just too big. Too big. Too big for what I want. So we're actually gonna go back to green grass. Okay. We'll fill it all in. And I just want like this small area to be dirt. In fact, let's do my little side project I'm doing over here as I learn these systems. And let's make this little hidden pathway have an entry point. And it'll go kind of through this. I'm getting sidetracked, and I'm assuming this is all going to get in the way, but I can always just flatten it. What we can do is this will be like an outpost almost, right? Like a checkpoint. I did it. I made a little walkway. That's so cool. We're gonna kind of affect the whole section here. It's like a pit, right? So it's all just gonna be just shit. That's so cool. Okay, so let's head back. Let's head back to this, and we'll see what he's doing now.
Dirt and grass. One thing I like to do whenever I'm creating my landscape is to get a human reference. That's why I'm able to compare the size of my landscape next to a human, and this is especially helpful since one thing I want to do with m_landscape is add in texture tiling, but it's hard to know how much I should tile this texture when there isn't a human reference.
Right.
So to get a human reference, you want to come up to add and add feature or content pack and select the third person. We can see that there's
Woo, okay.
a
Let's see how
mannequin
he
right here, which
introduces
we're
it.
going to be using as our reference. And select add to project. So this will add a bunch of new assets to our project. And specifically, I want to use the assets in character, mannequin.
Hold on. We're gonna go back real quick to see where he added this.
Reference. So to get a human reference, you want to come up to add.
So he
And
clicked on
add
content. Okay. So he's putting it just in his overall content thing. So increase this a little bit. So content, add feature content pack. He did the third person. We'll add project. Okay. See what he does.
feature or content pack and select the third person. We can see that there's a mannequin right here, which we're going to be using as our reference. And select add to project.
Yes.
So this will add a bunch of new assets to our project. And specifically, I want to use the assets in character, mannequins.
Okay. We're going step by step. I need to make sure I am following specifically what he's doing. So he went here to mannequin.
Meshes.
So I don't get lost. Okay.
And we can do skm underscore Manny. So drag that out to get a human size.
Okay. Well, that's relatively basic. Close you. And he did Manny. I guess it doesn't matter. My computer's really slow. We're gonna go quickly back to selection mode so I can move his ass. Hold on, I need to slow down my camera a little bit. Over here, I just want him by the block. And then we'll hit end so he's on the ground. Bam! Bada bing, bada boom. Actually, that's not too bad, man, huh? Okay.
Reference to compare our landscape textures to. And we can place them right there. So this human, if I zoom in on the grass, we can see that probably the grass is a little bit too small. So let's fix that. Jump back into our landscape material, and the way we change the tiling of any textures is the exact same way we did with m underscore master material. So we grabbed the texture coordinates and we multiplied it by a parameter value so we were able to edit it in the instance of this material. Now I could recreate this from scratch for m underscore landscape, or I can highlight all of that, press Control and C, go back into m underscore landscape,
Control
and
V.
Control and V it.
Okay. That's nuts. Okay, yeah. Why not? So we're gonna... Was it my stuff? Master material. Control C. Close. Control V.
Now I can plug this up to grass, and also I want to plug this up to the normal map of grass, which is right here. So if you remember, both this texture and this texture handle grass, since they're both being fed into the grass layers of the layer blend node. So press apply, and we
That's way over here, brother.
won't notice any changes since we have to create a material instance of our landscape and apply to the landscape. So right click, go create material instance, and drag this material instance onto our landscapes with the landscape selected. So just do that, and then double click on our instance.
Okay. Was he in my stuff or was he in maps? Landscape example? No, it must have been my stuff. It had to have been my stuff, right? Oh, he's getting kind of... So, I need to see which folder he was in doing that.
Material instance.
Okay, so he's literally just in my stuff. Okay. Landscape material, click on that. But we're going to go to control, add material. Wait, delete. Yeah.
And drag this material instance onto our landscapes with the
Instance. Hold on. I'm you. M landscape. This guy. Create material instance. We'll just do that. And then we then drag landscape material instance.
The landscape selected. So just do that and then double click on our instance. Let's undock it and bring it into the maps right there.
Okay. Undock.
Click on size, and I want to increase
And the lower you go, the bigger it is,
the
right?
size of my texture by decreasing the tiling. So instead of 1, let's try 0.5.
Okay. He's probably gonna do like 0.0.2.
Okay, that looks better. Maybe even 0.3. Okay, I really like 0.3.
Okay. Well, 0.3. Oh, never mind. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
So this was beforehand at 1, and now this is the tiling at 0.3, which makes the landscape look better.
Mm-hmm.
Now I also want to add in tiling features for our dirt. So I can highlight this, press Control C, Control V, and paste it right there and plug this up to dirt and plug this up to normal
Okay.
map. But if I press apply and go back into our material instance, we have a pretty big issue right here. And that is now our size controls both. Now let's come over to the dirt, controls both our grass and dirt. And we want to control those independently. And the issue is in Unreal for material parameters. If you have two parameters with the same exact name, then they're going to be treated the same within the material instance.
So size
So the
grass
way
and
you fix
size
this
dirt.
is that you have to give each of these parameters a different name. So call this one size grass, and then
Yeah. Size grass, size dirt. Apply.
call this one down here size dirt, and press apply. And now that should be different. So we also get the dirt
Dirt and grass. Got it, baby. Got it. Let's Control S for a second, just to make sure I have all my stuff saved. Control S, Control S. Just to make sure I have everything saved.
parameter within our instance. So let's jump back into landscape example and press Shift and 2 to go into landscape mode. Select dirt.
We're gonna go back to landscape mode. What we should see is these would in theory be in different.
Because I want to paint a little bit of dirt right next to the mannequin.
I already kind of have this, but we can paint more dirt. We're gonna lower the bracket though to very small. Okay. Okay. I guess so we can test the differences out, huh? Although I think it kind of looks good. Um,
So we can
Following his
see what
example.
grass and dirt look like in relationship to our human scale reference. Now with dirt right there, let's go increase it to 0.3.
Grass, dirt, 0.4. Okay.
Maybe even 0. Actually, I think 1.2 looks good. So just
Okay, so he's actually making it smaller. 1.2. Oh yeah, it actually looks like dirt now.
a little bit more tiling with our dirt. If you are curious how to make a really good landscape material, I do have a landscape tutorial series on my YouTube channel. While it is for Unreal Engine 4, pretty much all of it still applies to Unreal Engine 5. That was the very basics of landscapes. Now we're going to go over how we can get assets from the Megascans library. So in case you don't know, Unreal already comes with thousands of free high quality assets ready to be used immediately in Unreal Engine. We can get these assets through the Quixel Bridge plugin, which is already installed in Unreal. Before we jump into Megascans, let's make some edits to our world. So first off, I'm going to get rid of my landscape material since I think it's a little bit distracting and I just want to focus on the Megascan assets. So select my landscape, scroll down to the landscape material slot, and let's reset it back to the world grid by selecting the arrow, right?
Okay, so we are basically undoing everything we did. What about the actual landscape that I made? Is there a way we can just undo everything there?
Right there. There we go. And I also want to lock my exposure with the post-process volume. So come into volumes, post-process, drag it out, and scroll up to exposure. Let's set it to manual and exposure compensation. Notice that there is no change right now because I need to make sure that infinite extend unbound is turned on. Now I can increase the exposure compensation. I found a value of 12 to be pretty good.
That's what he always sits at. He sits about 12 or 13. So let's selection mode. He wants a visual effects, post-process volume. This thing's going to do exposure compensation. We're going to set it to 12. And then we're going to make it infinite extend. Oh. One. Okay. Meter manual. Oh, I see. So now we do it to 12. And now we get that. We're just going to do Control L and make the sun kind of come up. It's being a little more forgiving. Okay.
And I'm also going to raise the position of my sun so we get more light in the world. Okay, so now that the sun was raised, notice that the brightness of the sun also increased.
Mm-hmm.
So exposure compensation, I'm going to lower it to 11.
Okay. So we're gonna control L. Control L. But then we're gonna lower the. So where's the post processor in here? Okay. It looks good. Looks good.
Or 11.5. All right, great. So
Brother, I'm trying to follow you and you keep doing these like last second changes.
let's go over how we can get access to the Quixel Bridge library. And getting access is pretty simple. You just want to come up to the add button and then select Quixel Bridge. Now, if this is your first time logging into Quixel Bridge, it might ask you to log into your Epic Games account. Don't worry, it's the same exact account.
Then let me do it. Add Quixel Bridge. If I gotta log in though, allow. Oh, I logged in immediately. Ooh, check this out. And this is all free, right? Interesting. Medieval Banquet, premium fabrics. We got all sorts of surfaces, all sorts of 3D models. Wow, bro. You could make a whole ass game just from this, huh? Actually, I might do this construction one. That looks really useful. Maybe not the junkyard, but actually, I could do a junkyard section.
That you created when downloading Unreal Engine. So just go into that, and then you get access to, right now at the time recording, 16,688 assets.
6,688. What do I have right now? 14,711. So I've actually lost access. That's still a ton of assets, though.
Which is absolutely amazing. Now, if for some reason you don't have Quixel Bridge installed in Unreal Engine, then you want to go to the Epic Games Launcher and come to Unreal Engine Library, scroll all the way down to Vault, and find the Quixel Bridge plugin. Once you found the Quixel Bridge plugin, click on Install to Engine and select Unreal Engine 5. Although by default, this plugin should be installed, so you shouldn't have this issue. But it's important to bring up just in case you don't see Quixel Bridge. Now let's open up Quixel Bridge and let's go over a simple example of bringing in a 3D object. So to bring in a 3D object is pretty simple. Number one, you want to find a 3D object that you like. So maybe this rock right here. Then all I have to do is select this rock, and let me make my screen window just a little bit smaller. Hold down the left mouse button and drag it into your world, just like if it's an asset.
Okay. It was this one, right? No, that's Nordic. His was like mossy rock or something. I don't think he went down this far, did he? Something that I like, though. So, small beach rock. Once again, I don't think it actually matters. We're just gonna drag and drop. Oh, I need to sign in. Okay. So now I think I can just drag and drop, right? That's nuts.
from the content browser. And now we have our rock in our world. Importing realistic assets into Unreal Engine have never been this easy. And if I press Control and Space, we can see in our content folder that 2 new folders were created, specifically Megascans and MS Presets. So Megascans can
Megascans, MS presets. I see. I'm just tracking. I'm tracking what he's doing. I'm visually visualizing it.
contains all our Megascan assets that we get from Bridge. For example, we have a folder called 3D Assets, and inside 3D Assets, we have another folder called Mossy Forest Rock. And right here are all the assets that make up specifically this rock right here. Now,
Okay.
the other folder, if we go back to content, right next to Megascans is MS Presets. So MS Presets contains all the master materials that Quixel Bridge uses. So if we go out into content, back to Megascans, 3D Assets, Mossy Forest Rock, we'll see that the material that's using is a material instance. So it's not a material by itself. If I scroll down to the material instance, we can see what its master material is, and it's using m_ms default fuzz material. And if I click on the magnifying glass, it's going to jump to its location, which is of course under MS presets, which contains all those master materials. And you'll also notice that we do get a bunch of parameters. So we're going to go over all the main material parameters that Quixel Bridge provides to us, which we will use consistently. So to begin, let's go over albedo controls. And I'm going to move my window off to the side so we can better see our assets.
Okay. Okay. One second. I missed a step? Or did he just lower all of the bars? Global albedo. Oh, okay, it's right here. So let's. Just so that I can visualize what's happening.
So albedo tint does exactly what the color tint does that we just created for our own master material. So I can completely change the color of my asset.
Okay. Albedo tint. You can change things how you want. Of course, go back to standard.
I'm going to press cancel since I don't want to make any changes to my color right now. And below that is albedo controls. Now we don't see any albedo controls right now since I need to click on the triangle icon to get a drop down. So right here we have saturation, brightness, and contrast, and they all do exactly as you would expect. Saturation increases the saturation of our asset,
Of course.
bring it back to its default value of 1. Brightness controls how bright the asset is, and this is probably the parameter I use the most with Megascan assets, especially if I'm trying to get a lot of different assets to blend together well. I'm going to try to control their brightness to make sure they all have a similar value to each other. And below that is contrast. And all of these have a default value of 1. Now below that is metallic. Generally I don't have to play with it because this asset isn't metallic. But if you do want to override one of the metallic behaviors, for example, increase the base metallic from 0, which is what it should be since this asset is a metallic, to 1, and then bring metallic map override to 0. Now we can see that the asset is metallic, although I wouldn't recommend you to do it, but it is good to know that those options are there. So I'm going to reset them to their default value. And then below that is roughness. So roughness controls how shiny the asset is, exactly what we learned about during the PBR section of the material chapter. So max roughness is at 1. If I bring this to 0, then the rocks have no roughness and are really shiny. I'm going to bring back the roughness by setting it back to 1. Below that is normal strength, which is like the flattened normal. Although now, if we increase normal strength,
it, right?
the normal increases, and then if we decrease this to 0, then the normal map has no effect on our assets. So obviously, we do want to leave this at 1, so the normal map has a little bit of an effect. So there's still a bunch of other parameters that we could play with, but these are all the main ones that are needed for props just like this. Now, let's go over how we import a surface material, which is different from a prop, since surfaces are good for a floor like this cube, and not necessarily meant for specific props. So let's go into Quixel Bridge, and let's find a nice surface. For example, brick, decorative brick wall, and we could click download, although I do want to go over the different quality options.
Okay. So let's get my stuff caught up. We're gonna shut down that instance thing. I don't need it anymore. It seems we've moved on. Looks like he made a kind of floor piece, which we'll just kind of set up on flat ground. Press end to have it actually sit on the flat ground. And we'll see what he... We're gonna actually try to make it as thin as possible. As thin as possible. Okay. And once again on flat ground. Cool beans. So home. Mega scans, 3D assets, which is nothing I'm actually interested in. It was back here. We're gonna go back to surfaces. And it seems like he was looking at brick. God, sorry, I apologize. It's a lot of information. But I mean, I'm following along well enough. I'm following along. But he was talking about different qualities.
So right now it's set to highest quality. We have low, medium, high, and highest. Low quality is 1K textures. Medium quality is 2K.
Okay, so I mean, I'm gonna make a low quality like looking game. You know, it's probably gonna be sitting at 1 quality forever. Because I don't need massive textures at all, but let's see what he's doing.
High quality is 4K, and highest quality is 8K. So I think generally, unless you're really trying to go for the best looking render as possible, I wouldn't go with 8K textures. The highest I would go with is 4K, and click download. So you're gonna have...
We're doing 1K, baby. We're going 1K here. Okay, so we're gonna do mortar, modern, decorative, red brick. Once again, we're gonna do low quality, and then we're gonna download.
have to wait for this to download. And once it is done downloading, simply click the add button. Immediately, we will see that our content browser opens up and we get our
add. So surfaces, 3D assets, mega scans, okay.
our material right there. The material functions like any other material. You can drag it and let go
Okay. Well, since he did it, I'll do it.
to place it on an object. So now we have our brick in our world. I can select this brick and open up its material instance to see what parameters we have, and the parameters are pretty much exactly the same as beforehand.
The thing is, I'm gonna fuck with it, right? I want to make it look like the way I want it to look, so that I actually learn. Um, but it's more like I want to fuck with the metallic. Okay, kind of just darker, huh? Pido controls, saturation, brightness. We're gonna fuck with. And brightness. Okay, that's cool. I did it. that's that's it for me. Control S. We're gonna save the project.
Except I want to point out what global does. So global controls our tiling. If I click on tiling offset and then click on the drop down, we
Okay, so he's on global. Global.
see tiling X and tiling Y.
Okay. Tiling X, tiling Y. So explain to me
If
what
I
this
want to
does.
tile it more on the X direction, I can increase this. If I
Oh,
want to
that's
tile it more
cool.
on the Y direction, I can increase this. Or I can decrease the tiling in the X and Y to make our
That's awesome. So hold on. Huh.
texture larger. I can even offset it. So move this texture in the X or Y axis of our object's texture UVs. And if you really want to, we even have the ability to rotate this. Although I'm just going to leave it at 0.
Yeah, we're not gonna fuck with
If you ever
rotation.
want to reset all the values at once, then click on the top arrow. And
No. I was really happy with that. Okay.
here is a neat trick that I do want to point out. Let's say you want to go to the folder that this asset is located in, but you don't want to have to navigate to that folder manually, go through all your content folders, and try to find where this asset is located. Well, what you could do is in the details panel, click on the magnifying glass right next to that object, which will jump to that location.
Okay. So what we'll do is we're gonna close this again. Let it staying. We're just gonna control S just to save, and then finding the folder to this. Find the folder, takes you directly there. Convenience.
Or the shortcut is to press Control and B at the same time
Control
to
B.
jump to that object's location. So if you select any object, for example, the human reference, press Control B, it's going to jump to that location. So that is a shortcut that we will be using a lot, especially when we're creating our medieval village. Now I think is a good time to go over the foliage mode. And to go into foliage mode, simply switch from select mode below landscape to foliage. So foliage
Okay, so now we're going into foliage. Foliage. Okay.
mode is great because it allows us to paint foliage around our world very quickly and populate our world with grass, trees, rocks, and pretty much all the small assets you would expect to be in an environment. Now I'm going to press Shift 1 to get out of foliage mode because we first need foliage. And where are we going to get our foliage? Hopefully you could guess, Quixel Bridge.
Of course. So we're gonna go back to selection mode. Quixel Bridge.
So in Quixel Bridge, come to 3D plants, and we have a bunch of plants to select.
Okay. 3D plants. God damn.
From. I specifically want to find fern, just as an example, or the
Well, we're following his example. So 3D plants. Fern. We're just gonna do that. We've only got like 5 options.
though you could pick any of the plants that are available to us. And I'm going to select common fern. Now,
Once again, we're gonna stick with low quality. We're not a big quality
just like
person.
when we were downloading the materials, we have different quality options. So I could use low quality, which is 1K, medium quality 2K, or high quality, which is 4K. And I'm going to stick to high quality right now. Let's download it. And once it's done downloading, add to your project with the add button. And now this fern plant is
Okay. Uh,
successfully inside of our project. I can drag this out, see exactly what asset.
okay. So we got all sorts of assets. He's kind of just dropping them in, so we'll do the same. When was the last time I saved? Fuck. When did I save? Hey, what's up, sprint car guy? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know next to nothing doing this, so I'm following this guy's tutorial. I'm like, I think 2.5 hours in, almost 3, I think. Um, but I mean, I've been, I think like 4 or 5 hours already working on it. We're gonna restore selected. Okay. Let's see how much progress I lost. But it doesn't really matter because I understand all the concepts he was going over, and it seems like he was just kind of fucking around. Oh, you're gonna sub? Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm not doing anything really useful, but hey, that's awesome. I'm glad. So we need to open that map. Oh gosh, my stuff, map, material, landscape example. Yes. Okay, so okay, doesn't seem like I was too far behind. Excellent. So we're just gonna grab that foliage from. Let's see if I can find it. It was in Megascans. I'm gonna get rid of foliage for a second. 3D plants, common fern. Okay, I found it. Hey, I'm learning. So stay to keep posting. Uh, good lives. Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate it, Sprint. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Really, thank you. I'm gonna give it a second for it to do its thing before I move because obviously I think I overloaded my computer doing this. I'm gonna drop in the 3. There's quite a few things though, so we're gonna drop all of the what I believe to be common items. Actually, I don't think that's no. Okay, it's not. There's some kind of textures. These are the actual items. Got it. So we got 3 items. I'm doing like 1K textures. They still look good, so I'm not actually upset about it. All right, man. Hey, later. I can't believe the game crashed, but thank goodness I developed the saving thing already. Been saving.
Were made available to us. Unlike other Megascan assets, foliage can have multiple objects. So here we have 3 different ferns, and let's open up the material instance to see what options are available to us. We have a couple ways to open up our foliage's material instance. Number 1, I could go into the details panel with any of these selected and select the first material available to us, or I can press Ctrl and B to jump to that object's location, which is our fern folder, and select the material right here. I want to make sure that I select the material that doesn't have billboard inside of it. So select the non-billboard one, and this will be our main material instance. So I'm going to go over all the main parameters of foliage. So first off, we have color overlay.
Okay, let me get that moving. So he just kind of clicked on it. No, don't reopen that. Hey, welcome back, Sprint. Welcome back. So he opened the folder, clicked on this, opened this up, and he's now going over all of the details on foliage. So I'm learning all of these things. So he's currently, I think, on input textures. So we got albedo, roughness, opacity. It's all, I think, the standard normal stuff he's been going over. I think he's just reiterating this information, but it's good.
Which is essentially functions just like our color tints.
Right.
So if I want to make my foliage a little bit blue or red, this is where I make that change. And when I do make it red, it kind of gives it a fall feel, which is pretty neat. Press cancel since I don't want to make those changes.
Right.
And right above that is color variation.
Color
because
variation.
You wouldn't expect each fern to be the same exact color. There would be a little bit of variation between all the different ferns, and that's exactly what color variation does. If I bring this up to something large like 0.5, notice how each fern has its own individual tint. Now, normally you don't want it to be this intense. You'd want it to be just a little bit like 0.1 or even 0.05. So that there's just...
That's so cool. Hold on. That was color variation, right? Color variation. 0.2. Did it work? Oh, I like how it it changes when you get close. Interesting. Let's do 0.02. That's interesting. Why is it doing that? Uh, why does it go back? Is it because I did the low grade textures?
A little bit of variation. But
you are a YouTuber? Um, did you change your name to You Are Good? I mean, sure, I'll sub. I don't see why not. There, man, I followed you.
between all the objects. And below that is roughness intensity. So roughness intensity is just like our master materials roughness strength. So bringing it down to 0 means our object is very.
Hold on. Hmm. Same concept as always. The foliage is really
Very
weird.
shiny, and bring it up to, let's go, 5. We'll make our ferns pretty rough. Let's leave it as default value of 1. And below that is normal intensity, which functions like normal strength. Bringing it to 0 gets rid of the normal maps. So this is with the normal maps, and this is without. Or bringing it to 5 gives ourselves really intense normal maps. But I'm going to leave it at 1 for now, which is its default. And after that, we have translucency, strength, and desaturation. So light doesn't just stop when it hits a leaf. Instead, light goes into the leaf, it bounces around a little bit, and then it leaves the leaf. So that is where translucency comes in. Translucency is how much light should bounce around inside the leaf. It's at a value of 7. If I bring this to 0, then we have no light bouncing within the leaf.
Got it.
If I bring it up to 1, then a little bit, 2, a little bit more, 5, and finally the default of 7. And
oh, I kind of like the way 2 looks. Translucency. 7. 2. Yeah, I like the way 2 looks. Looks good like that. Okay.
below that is translucency desaturation. Notice how if I bring it down to 0, then it becomes completely desaturated. Now the light inside the leaf is white. Or if I bring it to 1, then there was no desaturation when the light was bouncing in the leaf. So I'm going to leave it at the default value of 0.95. And finally, we have probably the most important parameter, and that is enable grass wind. So turn this on and then set it to true. So now our plants have wind, which adds a whole nother level of realism. We can control the wind intensity.
I don't think my game's gonna do a lot of realism, but enable grass wind. I like how when that's far away, it pops. Look at that. That's so funny. But when it's far away, they don't move. Only when you get close. I guess that's what I get for downloading 1K textures, huh? I mean, this came out pretty good with 1K textures. This came out kind of goofy. Kind of goofy. Why?
I, of course, playing with it right here. So if I bring it to 0, then there is no wind, and its default is 0.15. Maybe if we're inside a hurricane, make this 0.5, and now it's super intense. So I think 0.15 is a little bit too intense by default, so I'm going to bring this down to 0.05 for just some really faint movement. Now you probably notice throughout this entire time is that the foliage pops a little bit as I go further away or closer up to it. And this popping is a level of detail. So we can better see level of detail by opening up the foliage in its static mesh editor. And right here, we have LOD. LOD 0 is what the foliage will look like when you're really up close to it. And actually, let me go uncheck the grid so we can better see this. LOD 1 is what it will look like when we get a little bit further away. When the camera gets even further, we go LOD 2, further LOD 3, and finally we go to LOD 4. And as we increase LODs, as the camera gets further and further away, we lose more and more geometry until we get this weird thing right here, which is essentially just a picture of the fern, which is pointing at the camera. So this material right here is what the billboard is. So that's why we weren't editing this material since this material is completely different from our main material instance. If we did edit this, then we wouldn't see any changes right now in our world since we're zoomed up pretty close to our ferns. We would notice a change if we're far away, and hopefully you can see it in YouTube. All of our ferns just transition to a billboard, which is the furthest LOD possible. So that's important to point out that if you do make a major change to these ferns, for example, let's give them a color tint of blue. We have blue ferns, but if we go away, our billboards are green. So we also have to go into the billboard material instance, which is the second material, and change this color to blue to match the main material instance. So we get a better transition. Now, that looks terrible, so I'm going to change it back to its default value of gray, and right here, change it also back to gray. And I can exit out of all of these and save everything, because now that we've gone over the material parameters
So he's
for
teaching
foliage,
me right now how to
we can talk about the foliage
take a
mode
break.
editor, which we can open with the
Okay.
shortcut Shift 3. Right here is where we get all the assets that I want to paint onto our landscape. We can see that it was already auto-populated by...
Okay, so we are at 2 hours, 2:30:28, 2.5 hours, man. Oh my fucking god, I'm only halfway. Ah! Oh, jeez Louise. 2.5 hours. We're at 2.5. I'm gonna control S to save, as he save selected. Okay. Man, and yeah, I'm gonna take a break, guys. So I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Thanks